Hi. You guys have joined us. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So for you guys see some new guests. We're also going to have a couple other new guests. They're going to join us for just a little while. They actually are down 10 floors down or something like that. I said, come on up. Enjoy the mastermind. Entrepreneurs. Yes. And actually, here, are we good? Are we live right now? Already live. Awesome. Okay, so we're already live. So let me go ahead and kick this off. So it is after lunch for our mastermind. And for the first part of the day, we talked all about setting up your own digital agency. And we talked about how to be able to take a business from scratch. We talked about people, for example, that have like a Shopify store. And instead of just being a solopreneur with a Shopify store, we talked about how you could have your own agency and the Shopify store is your client. It's a different way of thinking. Like if you're a network marketer and you have a network marketing business, whatever, instead of being a solopreneur that's in a network marketing company, you have an agency and that network marketing business is your client. Treat it like your client. By separating yourself, by creating that kind of division where you have your agency and then underneath your agency, you have all these different things that you represent. You know, maybe this is e-com business. Okay, maybe this over here you do consulting. You know, maybe whatever it is. Maybe over here you do MLM or you have some sort of other business, whatever it is. Over here, maybe you have something that you're selling. We called it arbitrage. The main benefit of having an agency is that you have one hub that everything falls under. Because as entrepreneurs, we get so distracted, so much things to focus on. But if you have one hub, one thing, everything falls under it nice and clean. Everything that you're learning in today's mastermind falls under an agency if you have an agency. If you guys go to a conference with me, like at the end of the end of the month, I'm going to ClickFunnels conference. Everything they teach me at ClickFunnels conference goes under the agency. Think about it. If I learn skills, then I have skills that I can provide as an agent, you know, with my own agency. If somebody wants to pay me, they could pay me $10,000 and I'll build their sales funnel for them. Consulting, coaching, advice, anything, everything's a skill. Arbitrage is where you get in and you resell other services. We talked about arbitrage in the first half. We talked about, for example, logo design, logo animation, website design. You don't have to have any skills whatsoever. But your agency can offer logo design as a service. And if somebody pays you $1,000 to design a logo, you can turn around and go on a website like Fiverr or Logo Tournament or 99 Designs and spend $500 on a logo. You collect $1,000, you spend $500, you make $500 in profit. We talked about this. That's called arbitrage. You can do it with a million different services. So now what I want to do is I want to introduce a quick concept over here, another idea to add to this, which is called being an influencer. There was a few people here in the mastermind that had talked about wanting to be influencers, wanting to grow your social media, wanting to grow your influence. I think this, at Lifepreneur, we think this is a huge idea to build your influence because the bigger reach you have when it comes to supporting like great causes, you're going to be able to do a lot more. It's a bigger reach is going to help you make more money. It's going to help you have more longevity out of your career, and it's going to help you support great causes. Like if I come out next month and say, hey guys, here's an amazing autism awareness campaign we're doing. Can you guys all please show support? Well, if you have one follower, you're only going to get to show it to one person. But if you have 100,000 followers, that message is going to get heard by a lot of people. So everything you have to say, everything you have to communicate should be heard by a lot of people. You should have a large reach. You should have an influence business. So I want to talk about what you want to do to be an influencer and a couple of the corporate and tax advantages related to that, and that's going to be the perfect transition over to our guests. We have two guest trainers here that are going to talk about entity setup and everything. They're from NCH, Nevada Corporate Headquarters, literally over 90,000 corporations, almost 100,000 corporations set up. They've got a lot of experience. They've seen entrepreneurship, every type of business and every type of setup you can imagine. They're going to be here and they're going to break it down for us on a real basic level, what you should do to get started. Also, they're going to talk about what's changed in 2018 with taxes. Because if you're an entrepreneur, there's been a lot of changes lately. So real quick, just on the influence side, if you got notes, write this down. This term right here, you've heard a lot about social media influencer, but I want to talk about it from a different perspective really quick. I want to do as a business. Social media influencer as a business. Okay, social media has just emerged over the last decade like crazy, right? When the economy tanked back in 2009, people fled to social media because it was free and it was easy. So real estate's tanking, Credit's tanking. Banks are tanking. The whole country has to go through a bailout. Meanwhile, Facebook is exploding. Twitter starts exploding. YouTube's exploding. All of these social media sites are exploding because they're free to use. And those companies are still making money from advertisers even in a down economy. They were killing it. So social media exploded. Social media is the one place where an average person can build a huge following and be a star. Like, you could see like a 15-year-old kid with 1 million followers has no clue what they're doing, but they post a picture that they just bought a new pair of shoes and it gets 1 million likes, right? But I want to show you how to do it as a business. Social media influencer as a business. So the biggest thing you want to do when it comes to a business is, how can I make money from it? That's the biggest thing. Is there really money to be made from social media influence? So let's take a look at some of the ways to make money. If you had a big following online, you can make money from sponsors. Okay? People will pay you money. If you have a big following, like let's say Amanda here has a big following, and I say, will you wear this Lifepreneur shirt? And here, I'll send you free shirts. I'll wear this Lifepreneur shirt in your post. I'll pay you $100 or whatever. So people will pay you just to wear stuff in front of your following. Okay, so sponsorships. There's also like, you can get like, free gifts, free swag, free stuff. Okay? That's not necessarily money directly, but it's value, money value. Okay? You can do advertisers, people that will literally just advertise on all your stuff, kind of like sponsors, but there's advertisers. Now, there's also tons of opportunities that you can promote when you have a big social media following. Okay? For example, you can build an email list, and you can promote stuff to that email list. You can promote affiliate offers. So you can sell something that you can earn commissions on. But the biggest thing that I want to show you is this. Out of all of these, nothing's bigger than this one right here. Agency. Having your own agency is where you're going to make a ton of money. So let's look at social media influencers as a business. And we'll take Amanda because she's right here. If Amanda had, let's say, 500,000 followers on social media, if she had an agency, look at the ways you can make money with an agency. First, is there anybody else that would love to learn how to have 500,000 followers just like you? In fact, well, look at the room. Who in this room would be interested in having 500,000 followers, right? Like, really, right? Yeah. Okay, so that alone is a business. The business of how you got to where you got is a business. So all these social media influencers that are out there, millions of views on their YouTube videos and stuff like that, it makes everybody else jealous, but yet they don't even know how to monetize it. They don't even know how to make money from it. These same kids could just be teaching how they blew up in a little course and they can make millions of dollars. They just don't know. That's where agency comes in. Having your own digital marketing agency, a DMA, having your own digital marketing agency, as you grow your following, you could put together things like how I grew my following by 50,000 followers last month. And that alone could be a $100 course, and you could sell tens of thousands of dollars worth, all kinds of stuff. So it's all about money. Everything comes down to money. How can I make money off of my social media following? The reason it all comes with money is you want to start with the end in mind. It's not worth doing if it doesn't make money. Now, you can also be altruistic. Oh, I could promote charity. I could promote my passions. I just love taking pictures, Great. But if it makes money, you're going to explode it. You're going to get a ton of followers. The other thing about making money is that your money can buy more followers. That's the big one. And let me put like a little disclaimer, real ones. That's the big, real followers, not fake followers. Money's going to allow you to buy more followers. So it's going to be in this circle where literally you're over here, you're over here making money, and then you're taking money and you're putting it right back in to your business. And that's how your business is going to grow like that. You're just going to keep putting money and 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 growing. Every single month, you should have a budget just to buy following. And what I mean by real followers is you're not going to go to some service that's going to let you just buy followers. You're actually going to put together a campaign and actually build some followers. Now, the other thing that's good about social media influence as a business is, let's see again, and this time do it honestly. Don't halfway participate. You guys came all the way out to my house, How many people in here, honestly, from the bottom of your heart, would love to have to log into social media and have 500,000 real followers? Raise your hand if you'd really love that. Okay, so if there's a need for this, and you do it, and you're doing it for yourself, then there's this infinite amount of people that would pay you to help them. So you want to offer social media marketing as a business, your agency. So your agency needs to offer, how to get followers, how to get more engagement, how to build your IG, your Facebook, your YouTube, whatever it is you're doing for yourself to build your own brand, you should be selling that as a service to others. This is going to help you big time. So if I'm spending money every single month, let's say, to grow my social media following, then as my social media following grows, I should equally be spending time teaching people how I'm growing my social media following. I should say, even go on Facebook. Hey, here's a Facebook Live, how I grew my following by 10,000 followers last month. And then the pitch should be, if anybody here is interested in growing their own following, send me a direct message. I've got a few packages going on right now that are hot. You want to do that. It's a great way to make an extra 10K a month or whatever your goals are. It's a great simple way doing what you're already doing. You're already going to be building your own following. So social media is a business. So I want to highlight a couple things and then I want to turn it over. A couple things I want to highlight is, what about these sponsors and what about these advertisers and opportunities? So if you have a big social media following, how can you get money from it? I'm going to talk to you about a couple people right now. Connor and then Connor's girlfriend, Ellen, right here. Connor and Ellen. They don't have the hugest following in the world. 17,000 followers and 25,000 followers. So they're just a couple people. They were over here at my house last week and we sat down and we talked, and they were sitting right here on the couch. We sat down and we talked about their social media following, about the influence that they have. And I said, and we talked about how they could promote Lifepreneur. Okay? I knew them through Thrive. You guys might, I don't know if some of you guys recognize them, but we was like, okay, if we promote Lifepreneur, we can make commissions, right? We can earn like $1,000 commission per referral. So what they have is they have their Instagram influencer business. Their niche is international lifestyle. So what they like to do is they like to travel around the world, take pictures of their life. See, they just take pictures. They've got them kind of themed. They just take pictures of all the different places they travel, and they go like that. Okay, basically, that's their pictures. And there's some of hers, same kind of thing. You'll notice the similar theme. They go to different places, but they take pictures and they just post them. So like young couple, international travelers, that's their niche. Okay, so they marketed to their list that they're building from this, their influence. They decided to market Lifepreneur. And I don't have their stats exactly, but Peter told me that in their first week of promoting this, like let's just call it 10 days since I don't have it exactly, that they've already made $16,000 in commissions, paid. They've already earned $16,000 just from this, from one offer. Outside of anything else, they don't have huge following. 17,000 is not that difficult to get to. And they've already earned $16,000 in commissions just reaching out to the kind of people that want to travel and be like them as well. That's the kind of power that you have, being able to earn that kind of money. They're pacing right now. They want to have like their first $100,000 month with us, okay, as affiliates. So you want to understand that. So the basic concept here is we talked about having what's a digital marketing agency. We talked about consulting. So we talked about having a digital marketing agency. All I'm saying now for the second half is that your agency should also be a social media influencer. So you're going to see Lifepreneur talk a lot about this because there's a lot of money to be made by having a large reach. Companies will reach out to you, just like you can even promote companies like ours. But one of the big things, and I want to transition to taxes and I want to transition to legal, one of the big things is in life, what's the point of making money? Like, you're not making money so you could have stacks of paper to look at, right? We make money so we could spend it, so we can be, do, and have things, right? There's things we want to do in life. We want to be, who do we want to become? What do we want to do? Like, where do we want to go and everything? What do we want to have? Like, what clothes do we want to wear? What cars do we want to drive? What do we want to do? What things do we want to have? This life revolves around what do we want to be, do, and have. And money's at the core of that, right? Money is the bartering tool to allow us to be the person we want to be, to allow us to do the things we want to do, and allow us to have the things we want to have. Money's not going to do it all. Like, to be the kind of person you want to be is maybe going to take a lot more than just money. But to have, that's almost all money. To travel, what's stopping us from traveling? It's just time and money. Really just money, because money can buy time. So everything revolves around money. Since everything revolves around money, you're going to make money and you're going to spend money. So I want you to get a new relationship with money that's very, very different. Don't think of yourself as buying something because you want it. Okay? Put on your business. That's a consumer thought. You walk inside of electronic store, or you see a big TV and you go, I want that because it makes emotionally I feel good. Or you walk by a shoe store right down in the Crystals and you see some high heels. I saw your eyes walking down past the high heels. You're like, those are amazing. And then you look at the price and like $5,000 down there. It's an emotional thing. We want things emotionally. It's not like we need them. We don't need TVs and high heels, but we want them. So instead of being a consumer where you walk by things and you want them, what if you put on your business owner hat? And what if those weren't just personal desires, but what if they were actual business necessities? We need these things. These are must-haves to be profitable in our business. Who would you say is probably like the #1 social media influencer in the world? Kylie Jenner. Kylie. I would say Kylie Jenner. It used to be Kim Kardashian, but Kylie took over, right? Kylie's probably the most influential person. She could be like, oh, you know what? It's Wednesday and I decided to start a new line of hats. And she'll sell like 1 million hats on a single post. And she just do that if she wants something. She could wake up on a Wednesday and make $1 million. Because of her social media influence. So, Kylie. So you mentioned Kylie. Is Kylie fashionable? Does she wear like really fashionable hip items?
She thinks so.
Yeah, she thinks so. But like her followers, she can make things trendy.
Right.
She can make a color trendy even. If she just decided to wear a color all month, people will start wearing the color. So she's in the business of needing to do that in order to keep her relevance. So there's a certain, when you're a kid growing up, you're like, oh, I want that new pair of Jordans because they're just so cool. Whereas when you become an influencer, it's like, that new pair of Jordans, the same one I used to want, that new pair of Jordans right there will keep me relevant, will keep me fresh, will get me a bigger following, stuff like that. If you start looking at your purchases, the things that you purchase as must-haves for the business with an intention to be profitable. I'm money motivated. I need to make profit. In order for me to make profit, I need to model after the top social media influencers in the world who are doing things like fashion, clothing, jewelry, travel, activities, whatever kind of activity. The list goes on and on and on. There's all these things that they're doing. So the recipe for success in social media influence is the same things that you want to buy, you need to buy in order to be successful. I'm not saying to go buy something that you don't want. I'm just saying change from consumer mindset to business owner mindset. So let's talk about that for example. As a consumer, I want the outfit. So I buy a hat, I buy a shirt, I buy some jeans, I buy some shoes, okay? As a consumer, you're just gonna go spend money and buy things. As a business owner, I'm gonna put together a campaign where I'm gonna sell Lifepreneur and make $1 million. That's my goal. So I'm gonna put together a campaign to get popular on social media. So I wanna get a dope outfit that I think could help make me popular on social media. That outfit happens to be the same hat, the same. But by doing it as a business owner for the purpose of business with the intention of being profitable, could that become a write-off?
Sounds like it.
Because the only intention is just to profit, right? Why would I no longer, if I buy something I want, if it's what I want is frugal. Oh man, my wants are very, very simple. I could just go to Walmart and go pick up a white t-shirt, basic. That's my wants. I don't need a fancy outfit. But for social media, I have to do it because it's a business expense. I want to teach you guys something very, very simple here that I learned a long time ago. It stuck with me. $1 million idea right here. The difference between a solopreneur and an actual agency owner is this. Solopreneur, earn, then what happens is they tax, not even solo, like employee, earn, tax, spend. They earn money, they pay taxes on it, and they spend what's left. But when you become an agency, a digital agency builder, okay, check this out. You earn, then you spend, and then you tax. This little concept right here is everything. As an agency builder, earn, spend, tax. You earn money, you spend money on expenses for your business, and then you pay taxes on what's left. So if this was a pie right here, okay? You earn money, that's the whole pie, and then you get taxed, half that pie is gone, and that's what you're left with. You spend what's left, because half your money's gone on taxes. But down here, if you earn, there's your big pile of earn, and then you spend money, and then what happens is you're taxed on what's left. If you spend money, the amount that you're going to pay to taxes is just going to be this smaller amount. Because this amount here goes into spending on your business. You remember, you pay, or here's a simpler way to put it. Let's say that you made 100K, and let's say out of that 100K, you had 80,000 in business expenses. Then you've only made, so it's minus 80K, then you've only made 20K in actual profit. What do you pay tax on? Do you pay tax on the 100,000, the 80,000, or the 20,000? Off the 20. So you want this number as low as possible, legitimately low. I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody not to pay taxes. Taxes fund a lot of stuff in our country. The idea, though, is that even the IRS doesn't want you to pay taxes on money you don't owe. They just want you to do them. They want you to keep track of your stuff and pay taxes on what you owe, okay? There's tax rules in place. You can go to a professional. They'll teach you exactly what to do. But the idea is that you want to earn, spend, tax. See, what happens as an employee is you earn your paycheck and taxes are already withheld. You don't get a chance to spend first. So if you're an employee and you want to go buy that outfit, you have to buy it with after-tax dollars. Okay, but if you're an entrepreneur, you can literally earn, then spend your money on the things that you deem are necessary for your business. You could always run it by an accountant, because I'm not one. But then you can tax on what's left. This brings an amazing opportunity to the world of digital marketing. You can have your own digital marketing agency. You can be a social media influencer, and you can start to do things that could potentially be write-offs. And I can't give, we had this conversation earlier, I can't give legal advice and tax advice because I'm not licensed. But if I just wanted to go play golf leisurely with my brother, that's a personal game of golf, right? That's not a write-off. I'm just going and playing golf. But as a social media influencer, what if I went with the purpose of taking pictures, taking video, reviewing that golf course in a post on social media with the goal that that post helps makes me successful, so one day I could be the next Kylie Jenner. Who's the IRS to say I can't? Who's anybody to tell me I can't be as big as Kylie? So if I believe that golfing and having a nice pair of shoes or a nice car, reviewing things is going to help me get there. See, the reason this is important is this, is if you're a social media influencer, there's a lot of things that you might be spending money on, or an agency builder, that could be write-offs. So you can earn, spend, and pay tax on what's left. Again, as a disclaimer, I'm not an accountant. So you're not hearing from me. I'm basically saying to talk to your accountant. I have to say that. But I did bring in partners of mine today from Nevada corporate headquarters. Like I said, roughly 90,000 entities that they've set up. That's one of the largest in the nation. You got the largest for sure in Nevada, okay? The biggest in all of Nevada. And they have some concepts on what's changed with taxes, what we should know as entrepreneurs, and also really some basic entity setup that works for us. And they're willing to let us ask questions and pick their brains and stuff like that. Who better than the best of the best? And they've even brought us, a bunch of books over here. I don't even know what these are. I'm going to kind of get into this. We got books for everybody here live. And the person I want to introduce first is Court Christie. I had a chance. We're working with NCH for all of our business. It's solid. Don't get scared of this kind of stuff. In fact, let me frame it this way. I'm not a numbers guy. And a lot of people think I'm very, very detailed because the way I do things. I'm not. I'm a creative guy all day long. I hate taxes. I didn't even pay taxes my first several years, and that caught up to me. I just didn't pay. I didn't file. I didn't skirt the IRS. I literally just was like, I got so scared. I'm like, I'll just handle that later. And it became like the later pile. That turned into like 3 years later. And entities, it's really cool. They'll be like, oh, you can just have this entity, and next thing you know, it's like this, and you're like, just this entity, and then this entity, and this entity, and this entity, and you're like, at a certain point, I'll lose track of it all. All I want to do is just take my money. Here, just set it up for me. I used to get nervous and scared of it. Instead of getting nervous and scared, the sooner you learn how to manage money, then it's all this money that you're going to make is going to be worth it. I made millions of dollars before I ever had any money left over. I had the first several millions of dollars I earned. I don't even know where it is. I got nothing to show for it. Nothing. Right? I don't even know where it went. Maybe nicer steaks or something. I don't know. The money's just gone. And I had tax burdens I had to pay for years. I just saying, on personal experience, the worst mistake I ever made was not taking taxes and legal serious. So I figured I wanted to make sure that my tribe gets taken care of. So I wanted to bring in Court Christie from NCH to help get us on the right foot. You guys think of questions you have, you can ask them. And with that being said, I want to turn it away to Court Christie from Nevada corporate headquarters.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, buddy.
No problem. All right, this is for you.
I'm going to throw that right here. How's everybody doing this afternoon? Yeah. Thanks for allowing me to come over here and hang out in this awesome pad that Chris has got. So pretty cool place to have a little meeting and learn a little bit today. So by a show of hands in this group, how many of you have a legal entity already that you work with? So we've got most everybody in the room that's actually using entities right now, which is fantastic. Now, NCH, the company I started many years ago, in fact, we go back to 1989, and as Chris said, we have formed over 90,000 business entities. Last week, formed just over 400 LLCs and corporations for people all around the United States. Some of them outside the United States that are doing business in the United States just want access to our marketplaces. And they come to us for all sorts of different reasons. We never know exactly what it is that they're coming to us for. We ask for industry types, so we've got internet-based companies, we've got investors, we've got mom and pop little shops all around the country, people doing all kinds of amazing businesses. And it's really cool to interact with them, talk to them, learn what they're up to. But they come to us for multiple reasons, not just because they've got a business they want to launch, but they're trying to do something at the end of the day. Now, what are the main reasons that people are coming to us to form business entities? Why do people do it in the first place? Give me some ideas. Pretty simple stuff. Liability. What do you mean by liability? What's that? Lessen, lower your liability. So we want to lower it. What other reasons do you do it for?
Protect your assets.
So it's protection. So you want to, and it ties into the liability, right? Protect your assets. And when we talk about assets, what are we talking about? Are we talking about business assets, personal assets? Which one?
Both.
Actually, both, right? Because in many places, people have multiple business entities. Chris is talking about multiple streams of income. So how are you getting income? You're referring business out. Are people referring business to you? Are you earning it online? Are you earning it offline? Do you have investments after you've earned enough money that you've gotten involved with? A lot of different things that are all coming together. And you want to protect one business interest from another business interest. And most importantly, I want to protect myself. I want to protect my family. I want to protect my house and my toys and all the other things I have. Now, what's another reason that we want to form business entities?
Minimize your tax burden.
Minimize your tax burden, right? So, Chris was just talking about that, right? And what you want to do is you want to be able to have a business, and you want to be able to earn the income in your business, and then you want to be able to write everything you possibly can off and then pay taxes, right? And so we say that's pre-tax living. Most people out there, everybody around this whole city here, they get a paycheck, right? They pay a ton in taxes, and then whatever's left over at the end of the day, then they buy the things that they want. As business people, we don't pay taxes first. We hopefully write off everything that we can along the way. We minimize the amount of taxes that we pay the IRS legally, right? And then we walk away and we hopefully have more in our pocket, more to build our businesses, more to build our influence with, more to continue to grow our businesses along the way. What other things come to mind with why somebody forms a business entity?
I'll add one. How about corporate credit, separating you financially from your business?
All right, so we want to get access to bank financing, lines of credit, loans. Credit works fantastically. What about credibility? Does that fit into here? How might you gain credibility by having business entities? Anybody? So basically, the minute you add Inc. or LLC at the end of your name, all of a sudden people look at you a little differently. You've got a legal entity that you're operating from, and now all of a sudden you're real. You've got this living, statutory given entity with rights just like you and I have. They can open bank accounts, they can get credit lines, they can buy things, they can contract, they have their own separate taxes from you and I. So all of a sudden this new living creature that you form for yourself comes into being, and you gain a lot of credibility than just doing business as yourself. Right? That's one of the most important things. Now, when I'm out there operating in the world, this is really, when it comes to the foundation of things, liability and asset protection are the main reasons that I'm even in business. We've got over 120 employees. We do a whole bunch of different things in entity formation services, but the entity formation is the crux of it all. And what are the issues of liability that we all face when we're out there working today? What kind of liability do we all have to deal with? Throw out things. How many of you, by show of hands, have ever been involved in a lawsuit before? Few of us have. If I had more hands, I'd put up a whole bunch of them. I've dealt with just about everything. Employee issues. That happens in business. When you have 120 employees, you're going to have issues that deal with that. Contract issues. You're signing contracts with somebody, you hire them to do work for you, they don't fulfill, what happens? Lawsuits occur in those cases. You are supposed to fulfill for somebody else. What happens if you don't fulfill? They're not happy. Yes, exactly. Here they come knocking. And who's got the most litigious country in the world? Welcome to the United States of America. Over 90% of all lawsuits in the world occur here in the United States. Those of us that live on the West Coast are blessed to have a highest percentage of litigation than any other businesses around the country. I come from northern Minnesota. So when we said we were going to do something, we did it. People didn't sue one another. Your first call wasn't to an attorney when you had a problem. In today's world, especially on the West Coast, you don't even try to work things out, which is super unfortunate that that's how people treat things. The first thing they're doing is picking up a phone, calling their attorney, and trying to figure out, what can I do to get my money back? What can I do to go after this person for non-performance? That's why we're into this. That's why we're forming entities. Because if I've got a lawsuit or something that occurs in business, where do I want to go? Do I want to go into court over here? Or do I want to go into some business? Hopefully not NCH. But if it's going to be one or the other, what do you think I'm going to choose? Right? I'm going to direct all the traffic I can over here. If there's any issues going on, I want it here. I want to stay happy on this side of the equation. I don't want personal litigation. I don't want to expose the assets that I might still have in my name, even though I try to keep everything out of my name to lower my profile because I'm in business and because I'm in this particular space. So we've always got to be thinking about what are the perils of business. And so a lot of times you'll sign contracts or you're involved in growing your agency or your online influencing business and you're thinking, wow, I'm going to sign that contract, agree to these terms, doing all these things that you do, but you're not doing it in an entity name. Always be thinking about, how do I do it in my LLC? How do I do it in my corporation? How do I make sure that nothing is done in my personal name? Other than I may want my name online, right, because I'm an influencer. It's all about me, not about this entity that I use. But when the checks start coming in, when the merchant account's set up, when the bank account's set up, when the tax ID number's put together, all of it's going to go down that path, not to my personal wallet. And that way I'm also staging things correctly so that I can minimize my tax obligation, which is absolutely huge. As Chris mentioned, what kind of taxes do we pay today? We pay a fortune in taxes. What's federal tax rates right now? Top federal tax rates. Anybody know? 38%. It's 37% right now on top income tax brackets. How many of you from California in the room? Quite a few of you. So what do you add to that? Ouch. Goes up to another 13% on top of that. Then you've got employment taxes if you're taking a payroll. So what does that go on? Up to about 15.3%. Then Obama adds some extra taxes on top of that when they added Obamacare, and that goes up even higher, 4.3%. So pretty soon you're looking at over half the income that you earn are going to pay taxes. And that's not talking about all the other taxes that we have to pay day in and day out. So number one reason right here, asset protection. Second reason is all the tax benefits that you're going to gain from having business entities, using them correctly, and living your life on a pre-tax basis versus an after-tax basis, as Chris mentioned so well. So before we get too deep into that side of the things, we'll get back to taxes. I'm going to introduce my good friend here, Tom Nagar, and Tom's going to talk about just some fundamentals of forming business entities, which ones are best, how to do it, how do you bring partners into the whole mix and kind of work together. And so with that, I have Tom Nagar from my office. Tom, welcome. Everybody give it up for Tom.
All right, guys, so we'll talk a little bit about corporations. Have questions, you want to jump in, ask me anything you guys want. All right, so how many people here have LLCs or corporations right now? And are they based in your state? Is that where you guys set up your corporations? Okay, so first we'll talk about just the differences between LLCs and corporations just a little bit. So we primarily focus on LLCs in the office for small startups, for small businesses. They're less litigious, less paperwork in terms of the annual requirements that you have to do every year, and they have a tremendous amount of asset protection. They also can get taxed 4 different ways, which helps us tax-wise. We can get taxed as partnerships, as C Corps, S Corps, where on corporations you're limited to 2 different types of tax elections. So one is we talk about the LLCs, find out what you guys have going on, where you are tax-wise, and then we can make an assessment of what and how you need to be taxed, whether it's an S Corp or a partnership. The first decision when setting up a corporation or an LLC is deciding between entities, and then you have to decide on the state that you want to incorporate. So every state has different laws that basically govern the way that you're protected, that business owners are basically protected with their LLC. So Nevada, by far, has the best laws for asset protection to kind of separate us from the business and making sure that nobody can do something called a piercing of the corporate veil. Has anybody heard that term before, piercing of the veil? That basically means that somebody sues your LLC, you have a corporation, you have an LLC, but somebody sues your company and still is able to pierce that veil and kind of come after you personally. So all states have certain laws of how they're able to pierce that corporate veil. And one of the easiest ways to pierce a veil, let's say for example in the state of California, is if you have an LLC, for example, and it's set up as a single member LLC. Single member means that it's a one-person owner of an LLC. So in most states, if you have a single member LLC, what happens is the court can actually pierce that corporate veil, right? They can come after you personally. They can contend that, hey, listen, it's one person operating the company. There's no real laws to protect single member LLCs. So Nevada has certain laws that protects us even as a single owner, as a single member LLC, right? So one of the great things that we like and we tell clients about Nevada, that the only way that you can pierce a corporate veil in Nevada is if you set up the company with the specific intent to commit fraud, right? Other than that, there's no way to pierce the veil in Nevada. So in other states, there's a variety of different ways. Single member LLCs, you forgot to do your annual minutes or meetings or other sort of requirements. So there's a lot of different ways of how to pierce that corporate veil. Does that make sense? Anybody have questions on? Go ahead.
Can another state,
Sorry, Mike.
outside of Nevada, can another state register in Nevada?
Yeah, so here's how it works. So depending on where you're doing business, how you're doing business, if you have, so a lot of the things that you guys are doing is virtual. There's no brick and mortar. There's no actual physical presence in the state where you guys are located. You can travel, you can take your laptop, you can travel anywhere in the world, and you're still able to kind of conduct business. You're not reliant on one specific state to do business in. So depending on the business, sometimes what we do is we would set up your LLC in Nevada, and then we would register that LLC, something called a foreign filing registration, where we would file your LLC to do business in that particular state, California, Arizona, wherever you're located. And what happens when you do that, you're now governed under Nevada laws in that particular state. So if we give the example of California, which has the worst laws for corporations and LLCs in the piercing of the veil, if we set up a Nevada-based entity and then we register that entity to do business in California and we register it properly, now you're governed under Nevada laws. You're taking Nevada laws with you into the state of California. So if somebody sues your LLC, you get into any sort of litigation, they have to go by Nevada statutes, Nevada laws, rather than going by California laws. So that's how we're able to take Nevada laws and move them wherever we're basically doing business, right? So, go ahead.
So you have a choice to register anyone?
You have the choice. You're a citizen of the United States, right? So as a citizen of the whole United States, not a citizen of Nevada or California, you're able to basically set up your business entity anywhere that you choose, whether it's Nevada or California. There's certain requirements, certain things that have to be done in every state. Every state has different requirements and different laws, but you can set up your company basically in any state that you so choose.
Right, but you can be governed under another state.
Yes, 100%.
So when you do research to find out which state is best for you?
I already did the research. It's Nevada. It is. It's 100%. There's a lot of cases. So Nevada is a very, very unique state. We're a statute state, which means that if you ever get sued, we go by something called Nevada revised statutes, right? And there are certain statutes within Nevada that dictate how companies can operate, how somebody can pierce your corporate veil. Most other states go by something called case law, where if you go get sued in another state, they can say, hey, listen, there was a case about 10 years ago of this happening, and now they're able to pierce that corporate veil. So we are a statute state. There's no way to pierce the corporate veil in the state of Nevada. There are other great states that are out there. For example, Delaware, another amazing state. Why do we use Delaware? Delaware is reserved for the top 1% of the Fortune 500 companies. So if you look at Microsoft and companies like that, they're generally out of Delaware. They have certain bankruptcy laws for directors of companies that, again, that make it beneficial for them to set up their companies in that particular state. Anybody else, any small business owner, and when I talk about small business, you can make $100 million and still could be considered a small business. Nevada is 100% the state to set up a company, and for a variety of reasons. One is privacy. So Nevada doesn't list any ownership on public record. There's no social security numbers involved on public record, no birth dates involved. So you have complete anonymity, complete privacy. So if tomorrow you chose to go and have a partnership, let's say with Chris, right? You guys are setting up these partnerships, and for some reason, Chris might not want anybody else to know that he has this other influencing company over here on the sidelines doing business. Well, Nevada's that perfect state because we can get 100% privacy out of that entity. Does that make sense? So privacy, another big reason why we get asset protection. So the less somebody knows about you, right? Today, when you go online, you do a Google search, it's very easy to find out what people have. If you're an attorney, it's even easier. There's certain databases that I can go to, state records, real estate records, and I can find out what assets you have, what you control, what you don't control. So Nevada gives us that privacy that if anybody does an asset-based search on you, right? That's the first thing that an attorney does before he takes a case generally, is they'll find out or try to find out what exactly you have. And if nobody can find out that you have assets, the likelihood of them suing you becomes a lot less, right? So that's one of the other benefits that Nevada has. Privacy, nothing's on public record. Nevada's tax-free, right? No state taxes. Go ahead.
If you go to the Secretary of State of Nevada, type in the LLC name, don't the directors come up?
So directors come up. Directors are not stockholders. So in corporations, the only thing that shows up in the state of Nevada is the president, secretary, treasurer, and director. Stockholders, the owners, the physical owners of the corporation are not listed anywhere in public record. Same thing with LLCs. So in LLCs, if you go do a search with the Secretary of State of Nevada, it's going to come up. What you're going to see is you're going to see the managers of an LLC, not the members, where the managers are simply the people controlling the LLC. They don't necessarily have any ownership stake in the LLC.
Recommend putting like a nominee for ultimate protection.
Sometimes we want a nominee, sometimes it's not necessary. Sometimes, depending on how the business is set up, if there's multiple members or managers, we would just list the manager and not the members. But yeah, there's definitely, again, another reason why we can use nominees in Nevada is because that ownership isn't listed anywhere on public record.
Got it.
So yeah,
Thanks.
Good question. Any other questions about the privacy? Go ahead.
I think it's different, but it's about tax. Is that okay?
Depending on what it is on tax, because court's going to hit taxes pretty hard in a minute. So is it anything related to asset protection or Nevada as of right now? Ask. Go ahead,
I guess so. I just sold my house in Indonesia, and
Okay.
I would like to transfer by wire to buy property here.
Okay.
So I heard from a couple people, and then Mr. Google, that said I have to pay 35 to 40% for tax because
35% on.
transfer from outside more than $100,000.
I'm not quite sure what the answer would be. So you're saying you sold a property?
Yeah.
Over there, you pay taxes in your home country,
Correct.
and now you want to move some of that money here to buy investments. And they're saying
Yeah.
for you to move the money here to the States, you're going to be taxed?
Yes.
And who's saying that? Who's telling you that you have to?
Couple friends and Google.
Got it. That who's going to tax you? We're going to tax you here in the United States? Does that sound right, Court? That doesn't sound right to me.
Is it my English or what?
There's going to be a taxation when you invest and make money. So you're buying a property here, you sell it, there's going to be a tax, right? That's where the tax occurs, but there's generally not a tax if there isn't a taxable event or a transaction. Nothing happened except for you moving money into the States. There's no taxable event there.
That's why I don't know. That's why I asked. People said when you transfer money, wire money, and then bank, any kind of bank in America, they will report to the government that I got transfer more than $100,000. Then I got taxed.
I haven't heard of that. We have an amazing tax department at the company, huge tax department. I can bring this up with one of our guys over there. I can tell you just by how you're asking the question, there isn't a taxable event there. The taxable event is going to happen when you invest the money and then potentially sell the profit or make money off of the investment. That's where the taxable event comes in. Other than that,
there may be bank reporting though that does occur.
Right.
You might want to know the source of funds, but they don't take anything from that. Now, are you a U.S. citizen or Indonesian citizen? Green card. And so sometimes for U.S. citizens, they want to know the source of funds, making sure that it's not income. I'm wired in. I'm good. So I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but anyway, so sometimes if you're a U.S. citizen, you've got money coming in from other places. They want to know the source. They want to make sure that the money's been taxed, or does it need to go on your taxes? And they communicate with the IRS all the time without you knowing. Banks do. But we don't run into situations where somebody's losing 35% of it and then having to explain the source of it. You get to wire it in and you can use it for investment purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And if you need, we can talk after. I'll give you my number and we can talk to somebody in the tax department and see what that is. Any other questions? Go ahead. She has a mic.
Hello. I was wondering, do you have to be at least 18 to create an entity in Nevada?
You do. Privately held company, you have to be 18 years or older.
Can I do one on behalf of a 16-year-old?
Yes.
So you can be a shareholder. You just can't be an officer or director. So for instance, you can be an officer or director of one of your kids' entities or somebody else that you know that is younger. And they can own it.
LLC under 18?
You got to be 18.
For a member,
to be manager. Oh, member, no. You can be an owner of an LLC.
Under 18, you cannot manage it.
Correct. You can't be the designated manager for doing it. Yeah, you've got to be an adult for that.
Okay, so to answer your question, yes, you can have him or her own. They can't manage, they can't be in the position of a management in the company. Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick one. I have an LLC in Arizona.
Okay.
You've convinced me that it should be in Nevada.
Okay.
Is there a means to move it under the same name?
There is. So there's a couple different ways to move it. One is we can do something called a conversion where we convert it from Arizona to Nevada. It's a lengthy and expensive process. We don't necessarily need to do it all the time unless we have you have a company that has a tremendous amount of age to it and has credibility. But if the name is available in Nevada, you would just reserve the name here, dissolve the one that you have in Arizona, and set up a new one for you here in Nevada.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? So that's, in general, that's what Nevada offers. It offers protection, offers a tremendous amount of privacy. We're a tax-free state. Not necessarily that you guys are going to benefit directly from the taxes in Nevada, that we don't have any state taxes. But what's cool is that even though you're using Nevada laws in Arizona, you don't have to file taxes in Nevada because we don't have any tax. You don't have to. There's not an additional reporting that you have to do Nevada tax-wise, right? From your LLC. So let's talk about just LLCs just in general and how they're set up and what the mechanism is to actually control the company versus owning the company, which are two separate type of things. So LLCs have something called members, and members are the owners of LLCs. And then in an LLC, you also have something called a manager, and the manager has full control over the LLC. You don't necessarily always have to be a manager member. Sometimes you would have people being the manager of their company, where they have full control over the company itself, but they have zero ownership stake in the company. Okay? Sometimes you can be a managing member. You manage and you own at the same time, and sometimes you can just be a member where you're just owning and you have zero control. So one of the strategies that we spoke about with Chris and the way that you guys, it would be a good idea for you guys to be set up, is what's cool is when you have an LLC, there's different ways that you can set it up with this manager member type of thing. So this would be your main company right here. This would be, let's go, Acme Acme LLC, right? And this is your main company.
There's a couple other colors.
Okay. So this is your main company that you're going to start doing your agency, your business with. And let's say after a couple of months you decided to go into another stream of business. So what you would do is we would set up an additional LLC for you here, right? With your company being the manager. Sorry about the handwriting, guys. Acme LLC, right? So Acme LLC, your LLC would now become the manager of this new LLC. And let's say that you would partner up with me, and the name of my company is Oat Capital LLC. Okay? And I'm a manager as well. And I'm a member. Okay? And this can go on forever. Okay, so now what we did is we came into a partnership together. We came in and agreed, hey, let's start marketing this one product. I think there's a niche market that we can get into. Let's start some retail, some arbitrage, or whatever the case might be. And we go ahead and set up a new LLC and start partnering up. Well, what you're always going to do is you're generally going to always take your main company, this Acme LLC, and you're going to use it in the different partnerships that you're going to be basically setting up along the way, along you doing business. So now you came to me, we're opening up a completely different LLC with my company being the manager member. I have control and ownership of this LLC, and also with your company being the manager member. So now we both have the same control ownership, and we have the same ownership in this partnership that we're setting up. Okay? And this can go on forever. So then you have another relationship and you set up another LLC down the road over here. And for this LLC, what you're going to do is you don't want anybody else having control over this particular LLC, right? You're going to be the manager. So the manager is going to be Acme LLC. Okay? Manager member. And what we're going to do here is let's say that you found or you have a product or you have some sort of way to get into the market. And what you want to do is you just want some investors maybe, hey, look, you have a great idea, Chris. I want to go ahead and invest a little bit of money into the company. So I don't become a manager. I'm just going to become a member. So now all I am is I'm strictly an investor to the company, right? I have no control over the company. Acme has full control over the LLC. Go ahead. Oh, hold on, Mike, real quick.
So did I understand you correctly in that second little LLC?
This one?
Yeah, there's 2 managing members?
Yes, you can have 2 managing members.
Who calls the shots?
Hopefully somebody has more than 51% that they can make the deciding vote.
So managing members are not don't have to be equal.
They do not have to be
ability
equal.
to manage.
They don't have to be equal.
So how do you determine that? What's the proper percentage?
Cord, do you want to answer that?
The proper percentage is always 51% or 50.0001. Never give up control in any kind of relationship that you're involved with if you can maintain control. Most of the time I say never give up any equity in any entity that you're involved with if you don't have to pay people for their services unless it's the only way to incent somebody is to give them a piece of it. As long as you've got more ownership as far as the ownership certificates go of that LLC, then you get to outvote that other manager. So when you have a co-management relationship with somebody and you're both doing different parts of the business, calling the shots of the operation, it's always the one with the more ownership, more control that trumps the other one. So, because you can fire the other manager at will.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Court, did we need to touch on anything else regarding asset protection? Anything else that we kind of talked about? Nevada asset protection a little bit.
I think it's a little bit more
members.
about the why Nevada part, like that.
Okay.
You know, what are the situations that we run into about where it actually comes in and applies to the situations, litigation issues, situations where somebody might be using Nevada headquartering here, and how they might do that when they're in a high tax state like California.
Right. You want to talk a little bit
Sure.
about the upstreaming type of strategies?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things that we do in our office is from a tax standpoint and a tax strategy, we use something called an upstreaming strategy. So if you live in a state like California that has really, really high state taxes, one of the strategies that we can use and that we use on occasion, again, going back to this, so what we have here is we have a company based out of California, right? And this can be a Nevada company registered to do business in the state of California. Why? Because again, we want to make sure that we take Nevada laws into the state of California, okay? Let's say because of the way that you guys are doing business, let's say there's a brick and mortar in the state of California where you're doing business out of, okay? So we have to register the LLC to do business in California. This company now starts making money, okay? The way that LLCs work tax-wise is that after all expenses, the LLC is basically, it's like a funnel. It distributes all the money or all the losses at the end of the year to the individual members of the LLC. So money comes in, expenses go out, whatever's left over goes to the member through something called a K-1 distribution. But let's say this LLC generates more income than you need to actually live on and sustain a lifestyle. So what happens is at the end of the year, you're getting money in California that you're getting taxed on that you're not even utilizing or actually need, right? So now you're getting taxed on money that's just sitting there in the bank that you're not even utilizing. So what we do is we use this upstreaming strategy. We set up a Nevada LLC or a Nevada corporation, we'll determine that when we talk to you guys. And this becomes a management company. Okay? And what happens is when this company makes money, this company can charge a management fee and move some of that profitable income into the state of Nevada. Now, Nevada has how much taxes? You remember? 0% taxes. So we're able, again, it doesn't apply to everybody. We have to fine tune and make sure that it actually works. But what we can do is we can move some of that taxable income into Nevada, and then this Nevada company can again utilize it, invest it. But again, we're getting rid of some of our state tax burden in the state of California. Okay, and we can go on and on. If there's another company here set up, let's say in New York, right? So we can keep upstreaming. So you would have one management company, and it would be basically managing these sub-LLCs. This is another way that we're able to get privacy, because what happens is with the LLC in California, so California requires us to actually list certain things with that state, the managers, as an example. So in this case, instead of listing your name, we would actually list the Nevada LLC that we get privacy on as the manager of this particular LLC. So if anybody goes on record, what they're going to see in California is they're going to see this LLC, they're going to see the Nevada LLC as the manager, and then we're going to possibly have a nominee director on this LLC, so there's complete anonymity, complete privacy anywhere that you go. There's no real way to tell who the owners or who the management individual is in that particular company. Okay?
How would you move some of the money from California to Nevada?
How would you move it in terms of... So you would do it as management fees.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a variety of different ways to legitimize that moving of that money. Again, it has to be documented correctly in order for it to work. But for somebody that's in California and any other state that has a big tax, and it's worth it for them where they're getting taxed on income that they're not actually using, we want to make sure that we can actually move that money into Nevada and not get taxed on it, right? So at the end of the day, as a business owner, what we try to do is we want to make sure that we're able to make as much money on that dollar as possible, or retain as much money on that dollar as possible. So if we're able to retain, 70 cents on the dollar, that's better than the 50 cents on the dollar that we're able to retain now. So we would, when it comes to asset protection, tax strategies, all these things, these are all great things in theory, but when it comes down to it, it's a one-on-one conversation with with an expert to actually, hey, say, what do you have going on? What other businesses do you have? How much income is coming through? Are you married? Do you have kids? What are you looking to accomplish? Are you looking to build a legacy with the company? And then based on that, we would build a structure that would actually make sense. And sometimes it's just a simple LLC, and sometimes it's multiple LLCs. Sometimes there's estate planning tools that are involved, like living trusts sometimes are part of the equation. So it just depends, right? So this is just an overview of the best case scenario, but the basic is the LLC. Again, you want to legitimize the business. You want to move from, again, like Chris said, from a consumer to a business owner, right? And that's the transition, is having that LLC. And so a lot of the times when people have sole proprietorships, and that means when you're doing business just as an individual, the IRS looks at that as a hobby, and that's why you're more prone to audits as a sole proprietorship, because there's so many openings for the IRS to come and audit you where people that are sole proprietors make a lot of mistakes because they think that they're in business and that they're able to get a tax deduction, where in reality that's not the case unless you're incorporated. So again, Chris's example on going and standing in that store and waiting 2 hours to get a Jordan, that's a hobby if you're a sole proprietorship. That becomes a business when you have an LLC or a corporation behind your name. So that's as basic as we want to get.
So if any of your LLCs in Nevada get sued for any reason, can you dissolve the LLC, or do you need to respond before dissolving?
Can you dissolve the LLC?
Like, do you have to answer to the case, basically?
Can you do a Copperfield and?
Man, it's well, it's not off the record, but I'll give you an example so a number of years ago, this is maybe going back 3-4 years ago, I had some companies that I was a nominee director for, which means that I was just sitting on public record. No ownership stake. I had no idea who the owners were, nothing about anything. And I got subpoenaed multiple times. I know Uncle Lance got subpoenaed multiple times because we're listed. So they don't know who the owners are, so they're going to subpoena whoever they can see. And when they subpoenaed me and I went, it was in downtown, and I went into this lawyer's office and I was sitting there, and every law book of Nevada and every statute you could imagine was behind this guy that was sitting down and talking to me. And he was asking me who the owners of the company are, and I said, I don't know. And he was like, what do you mean you don't know? I said, I have no idea who the owners are. And they subpoenaed our records, no ownership. So again, there's only so much they can. We don't advise clients to run away from everything, obviously, but again, I don't know where they would find out who an owner is unless your names are listed different ways. I can tell you in my case, when they were trying to find this individual, nobody knew. I didn't know who the owner was. It was just a guy calling up, wanting to setting up an LLC, and we provided nominee director services to it. But we weren't required to ask for any social security numbers or anything like that, so that's kind of where it ended. But I would probably advise to answer any lawsuit or get legal counsel.
Yeah, no, just, some traffic sources or being an advertiser, you can be prone to lawsuits. So I was just wondering. Right. In
your business, I can imagine there's a lot of liability just because you're influencing a lot of people. I think for me it would be. So he was talking about Connor that sent out, right, this message of, hey, listen, join this. So I imagine a lot of influencers go ahead and recommend something. I imagine just in that bit of it, there's a lot of liability there that if you recommend something to me, whether it's a retail product that got recalled or something happens, I'm going to sue everybody, the manufacturer, the person that brought me to this product, the person that recommended this product to me. So in your industry, believe it or not, as an influencer, having this agency, there's a lot of liability there, right? When you're in a real estate investor, it's pretty easy to see where the liability is. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with these finite businesses, people say, well, I don't have any liability. You have a lot of liability, right? We have a pretty big client base that does a lot of retail e-commerce. There's a lot of liability in e-commerce. You're selling directly to a consumer. Again, products can be recalled. So we just want to make sure that we are protected. And the only way that you can guarantee yourself as an entrepreneur that you're actually protected is if you have an LLC based in the state that actually protects their owners. So every other state, again, gives you that option of piercing the corporate veil except for Nevada, right?
Thank you.
I'm getting a feeling that
Hold on.
Nevada's a pretty good place to hide.
It's a great place to do business. It's a great place to set up your company and to get asset protection, to get taxes. It's a great place to get privacy. You know, if you want to set up your look, for me, in my space that I'm in the Airbnb space here in Vegas, so I do vacation rentals, tremendous amount of litigation right now. I was just in front of the city council a couple days ago. A lot of liability in Vegas, Airbnbs. I'm trying to do everything correct, but again, I don't want to be on public record. So it's a matter of me just not knowing, or if I don't want my clients to know that I'm the owner, if I'm able, you know, there's a lot of different ways of why privacy helps. In the retail space, it's important. If you have a variety of different e-commerce stores and you don't necessarily want everybody to know that each store is owned by the same person, another great reason to have privacy. For negotiation purposes, it's a great thing to have privacy. So we don't advertise a great place to hide for people that are trying to do anything malicious. It's a great place to hide. It's a great place to do business for any legitimate business. And anybody that's legitimate should be concerned about asset protection. And at the end of the day, people that are doing things wrong don't care if they get sued. The people that here in the room that are trying to do the right thing, we're the people that get sued, and we're the ones that need to make sure that our assets basically are protected at all times.
So could you break down, let's say I'm, a one-man team living in San Diego, is where I personally live. I do, agency work. I do I do consulting. So I'm making money. I have maybe clients in Vegas. I have clients in London, whatever. So I have kind of a nationwide or worldwide business, making income essentially online. How would I, essentially corporate Nevada? How do I need a physical residence here or an address? How's all that work?
Okay, so it's a simple process. You would call us up. Again, we would do a little bit more due diligence on what you have going on, how much money you're making from these other businesses that are coming into the agencies. At times, if these other businesses that you have going on make enough money, it's possibly that we would have a justification to set them up in their own individual companies. But once we determine what kind of company you need, LLC, how it needs to get taxed, we set up everything for you in Nevada. So we're the registered agent. We provide all the litigious stuff that has to come with the company, the operating agreement, membership certificates, minutes, meetings, everything that has to do with the company, we'll take care of. You do not need a physical address in Nevada. You do not need to live in Nevada. You don't need phone numbers in Nevada. Everything that you do need, we'll provide for you. The registration, if we need to register you in California, we'll do for you. So we want you to stay the entrepreneur, right? Focus on what you focus on, making money. We'll focus on making sure that you're protected, that your taxes are taken care of, right? Those are the type of things that we'll make sure that you basically have some assurance on the back end. Yeah. Hold on, let me give you the mic.
Can you give us a breakdown of your fees?
So that's hard. That's a tricky one. Why? Because everybody's different. Our fees, for a basic LLC can range anywhere from $1,300 to $1,400. Just depends. Sometimes it's lower than that. If you live in Vegas, it's a little bit less expensive. If we're not filing you to do business in another state, it can be a little bit less expensive. It can be more expensive if we're doing multiple LLCs, if we're building credit. So what I would, and this is one of the things that I tell business owners, right, not consumers, is when it comes to the protection of your company and making sure that you're set up properly, price is not the first thing you should be asking. It's an amazing, and that's as consumers, that's the first thing that we want to know is how much. The one thing that is how is it set up? Who's going to provide support for me? If I have questions, is there going to be anybody there to answer my questions? If I have tax questions, is there any support? Legal questions, if I get, all these variety of things, you want to make sure that as an entrepreneur, you have basically somebody to answer those questions for you. So that's the one thing that our company prides itself on is more of the customer service, making sure that we're there, making sure that, you know, you have companies that you can go and set up a company for $99, right? You can go online, you can go to LegalZoom. So if price is what you're searching for, there's companies out there, online businesses that do it for very, very inexpensive. But I can tell you that the majority amount of the time, once those companies are done, you don't have the necessary documents to actually get that asset protection. So, as an example, once you set up a company, the first thing that gets filed is something called the Articles of Organization. That's the kind of the documents that say, hey, listen, we want to set up the company, this is what happens. Most people, that's where they stop. They stop at the articles. And 90% of the people that we talk to that have corporations prior for us to, than coming to our doors, that's all they have. They have a document that shows that they went and filed this one document with the state. That's your intent to have a company. That's not your company. So the other part of the corporation, of your LLC, your minutes, your meetings, your operating agreement, your membership certificates that have to be issued out within 60 to 90 days, that's the first thing that gets subpoenaed if you ever get into a lawsuit. And that's what's not happening the majority amount of the time when people have LLCs. So we'll take care of that. Anytime that you have a special minute, special meetings that have going on, we'll take care of that. So we'll make sure that you're protected. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just kind of piggyback on that from firsthand experience, being an entrepreneur many years, especially coming from the real estate days. I remember when I first set up one of my first entities, and I was living in California, I was doing business in Michigan, and I set up a basic entity there. I had a property manager that literally helped set it up for me. I paid some state filing fees for whatever. And when it was all said and done, I didn't have what I needed. I didn't have the proper documentations. I essentially had zero asset protection. Right. Essentially was not a corporation. I was still essentially personally owning these properties as a result. So having kind of a with you, done for you service, a company, a reputable company that you guys can work with. I mean, that's why we reached out to Court and NCH, because these guys are the best of the best. They do it for people all over the country and world. And just like you're sharing, I mean, I've lived it firsthand experience where, you know, you could save a few $100s up front, but then essentially it's a waste. You essentially have no proper documentation or asset protection, and you end up back to square one, wasting time and money, and you were never really properly structured in the first place. So just kind of piggyback on what you're saying.
You have that sense of security that you really don't have. You think you have it, but again, once you get to court and those documents aren't there, then they're able to kind of pierce that corporate veil. So we want to make sure that that stuff is there. You want to come up, Court?
Sure,
Talk
absolutely.
about taxes?
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it. Good stuff. Good questions, too. Thanks. I'm going to piggyback a few of the things that just came up. We talked about, for instance, in Peter's case, what happens if you don't have all the proper documentation put together? You can go online, and there's a dozen providers online to get business entities formed. But how many of you have ever done that before online? There's sites to do it. It's real easy, right? So how many of you actually issued shares, stock certificates, or ownership certificates of your LLCs or corporations by a show of hands? Actually filled them out and completed them. 2 people in the room, maybe 3 or 4. A couple more just showed their hands. Most of the time what happens is you form a business entity, they send you paperwork from the state where you registered it, and now you've got these articles of incorporations or articles of organization for an LLC, and you go, whoo, I got it, I'm done. And then it's like, no, you're not done. There's more to it, as Peter mentioned. First of all, you got to get your tax identification set up. You can do that online, but there's a lot of questions on how to do it, when to do it, what year end you're going to choose, how many employees you're going to have, what industry classification. Do you have to start sending in your quarterly filings, all the things that you have to know about in that process. But one of the biggest mistakes that I find is nobody ever gets the rest of the documents that they need to complete the entity itself. So you need an operating agreement, or you need bylaws if you're a corporation. You need ownership certificates that actually are issued, because if you ever get sued and those ownership certificates have never been issued, they're going to say that entity never existed. Nobody took possession of that newly formed, newly created entity. And what happens a lot of times are if somebody gets involved in litigation, they go back and they start filling out a lot of paperwork because they find out from their attorney that they didn't do it right. And now all of a sudden you're just involved in trying to remember, when did I do that? And when did I set up the bank account? And how did I do these things? You don't want to go back in time. So what we specialize is is kind of taking people away from the whole do-it-yourself model to doing it right model, and walking you through the paperwork, making you sure that you have everything set up. How many of you are involved in partnerships? You're going to have multiple people working with you in your businesses. I mentioned earlier, if you're going to be involved in that, the last thing I like to see any of my clients do is give up ownership. Do a contract, pay them well, give them residuals on the income maybe that they're sending to you or whatever the partnership agreement is. But every time that you can avoid giving up ownership, do it. Hang on to that ownership, because you'll learn to regret it. And I'm involved, obviously after thousands and thousands of businesses that we've helped form, I've seen everything in business. And I always tell people, hang on to the ownership. That's the future of that company. That's what you can sell someday, and that keeps other people out of your affairs. Now, oftentimes you're in business and it's two people going to go together, and they've got attributes, skill sets that they bring to the table, and everybody wants a piece of the pie. It's okay. But then we go back to that situation. Can you hold on to 51%? Can you show that you're putting a little more money into the pot, putting a little more time into it, where you can hang on to that? That's always critical when it comes to running a business. We talked about privacy, and for some people, you're like, what's this privacy thing, and why do I even want that in business? If you're an online influencer, oftentimes your name's on everything, right? You have to be. So you can't real estate somewhere. Let's say you want to buy a condo in the Veer Towers, and you don't want the whole world to know that you own a condo in the Veer Towers. That's all of a sudden where you can have some privacy. Nevada, for instance, will give you some layers of privacy because the owners aren't listed. But what if you don't want to be the listed president, or you don't want to be the listed manager? These are services that people come to us for and say, can you help me out? We do things like providing what you call nominee services. We call it Nevada Management Services, which we have designated individuals that are involved in just providing a layer of anonymity to people that are active in business and for legal, legitimate reasons want to protect their privacy. Privacy is like an unheard of thing in today's world. So if you can have business structures and have a little privacy along the way, the less people know about all the things that you own, the better, and it minimizes your exposure and your liability long term. So let's change it around. We want to talk about a little bit more about taxes. So in business, which is what everybody everywhere should be involved in. You talk about kids getting involved in business. Get your kids involved in business early. Start them their own business entities when you can. Teach them about what it takes to run a business and how to do it. But when we live in a business world, we live pre-tax, right? Individuals, as we've talked about, after tax. And this is significant when it comes to the amount of money that you're earning. For instance, let's say we're talking about we earn $100,000 in our business, and as an individual, if you're earning $100,000 working somewhere, you're going to pay 50% in tax, right? And what are we going to have left over? $50,000 at the end of the day to pay for all the things that we have: rent, mortgages, car payments, food, entertainment, traveling, all the other stuff that we like to do. But if we can wrap everything into our business, now all of a sudden that $100,000 that we earn, we're going to be paying for, let's say, a car, right? And we're going to pay for travel because part of our business requires us to travel. Now, if I want to take a week and go to the Bahamas, can I write that off in my business? If you like it enough. It depends, right? So I heard a lot of different reactions here. If you have a need to go to the Bahamas, for instance, for a conference, you can write that off. If I want to go to the Bahamas and hang out on the beach and I don't post anything, I'm not doing anything, that is a personal expense. So I always say, no matter what you're doing, where you're going, make sure you tie business into everything. Now, Tom mentioned hobbies versus businesses. You have to be in the mindset that this is a business. I'm trying to earn money, because when it comes to the three-letter word, what is it? Tax, or these folks, the IRS, we want to make sure we look good in their eyes. So when I go to the Bahamas, maybe I'm going to look at real estate when I'm going to the Bahamas. Maybe I'm going to be posting every restaurant that I go and visit, talk about the cool place that I'm staying at and all the activities that I was doing. Now all of a sudden the IRS is saying, well, wait a minute. you're vacationing. No, I'm not. I'm influencing. I'm online. I've got to deal with the hotel. I'm teaching people about great places and spots to do. I'm increasing my subscriber base. All these things are for my business, because the more people that are attracted to me, the more things that I'm going to offer to them, the more income that I'm going to earn along the way, right? But I need to have that story ready to go, because everything's got to be for a business purpose. It can't be, I just want to go hang out on the beach. So you think ahead. My sister from northern Minnesota, they go to Florida to get away from the cold every year, right? And I always talk to her about what can she do to write off a portion of that trip. So she flies down there, let's say it's $1,000 for airline tickets, but she'll go visit industry type people in her space. And so she'll visit a couple shops down in that part of Florida. She'll get some business cards. She'll talk to them about what they're doing in their business. These are non-competitive spaces that she's in. They deal with Florida, she deals with Minnesota, and so she's just out there talking to industry types. She takes some notes, and she now can write off that particular portion of the trip, the flight. She might be able to write off a couple days of that, but not the entire trip. Well, when you're taking a vacation, what's one of the most expensive parts of the trip? Flight, getting to where you're going, right? So maybe you want to go hang out in Shanghai, or you want to go to Thailand, you want to go somewhere and have some fun tying in business along the way. You can write off a portion of that for sure, as long as there's a business activity involved. Maybe you can't write off the entire week at the resort that you're hanging out at. Question.
So my question is, right now I'm here on the trip in Vegas, and how much of the portion of meal just being at the bars or at the restaurants, and how would I be able to legally write that off?
Right, so you are working for yourself, but it's your business. And so there's certain tax laws about how much you can write off and can't write off. So as long as somebody else is with you and it's a business meeting while you're out and you're having your business conversations about where to go and what to do, you get to write off that particular meal. Now, we only get to write off half of it when it comes to our actual taxes, 50% for meals and entertainment purposes. And so it includes the drinks right now, it includes the meals right now. So tax laws are always changing though. So I have to say, today this is what it is. It can shift later. And then when you're eating on your own, but it's for business purposes, you're out of town, you can either write off the direct expenses or take per diems. So Las Vegas is probably a city that allows, I don't know what it is, $100+ for a per diem for meals. Do you know what it is, Tom, for Las Vegas? There's a guide online that the IRS has in each city, a certain amount of money that you can take out as a individual that owns a business and not pay taxes on that and use it for meals. Or you can put it in your pocket too, because the company can just give you that money. So I have traveling consultants that go to events all around the country. In fact, we've been to Thrive, spoken at Thrive, and met some really cool people along the way. All the people that are attending get per diem, and half of them don't even spend half of it. It just goes in their pocket, but that's a part of the incentive that we have for sending them out. So that's a big advantage. Yes?
Question.
Yeah.
So if I'm just taking Peter out, talking business, that's one thing, right? There's per diems or stuff like that. What if that's not my intention? What if I'm a social media influencer and I'm going to that restaurant to review it? Therefore, I'm going to take some pictures of the meal, maybe some snaps of the meal, post them to my story with the purpose of being a profitable social media influencer. The only reason I'm there is to review that restaurant. Can it then be 100% write-off?
So now we get into marketing expenses, right? Marketing expenses equal 100% write-offs. So if I have a company function, I have a bunch of people over in my office, we're having a meeting, I bring in lunches, 100% myself doing something out in the world, and there's an expense related to that, that's 100% write-off. So now you got to make sure that that's documented for that purpose, make sure you're doing posts on that, and you're doing something to mark that.
So for example, documentation, meaning if I keep a receipt of the meal, on the receipt I'm going to write, that I'm reviewing it, what the date is, who I'm with, stuff like that. I post a picture to my Instagram, my social media, my stories, something like that. Obviously, I got the picture backed up on my phone, and then I log it accordingly as a marketing expense, reviewed such and such restaurant on such and such day to justify that expense. Yes. With the purpose, with the intent to be profitable as a social media influencer. It's not a hobby. This is a complete desire to be profitable as a social media, to be the next Kylie Jenner.
And that's what That's what these guys want to hear. You want to be Kylie Jenner? Awesome, right? They want to know that there's a profit motive in what you're doing all the time. It's not a hobby. It's not on the sidelines. So when it comes to the IRS, most people don't love dealing with the IRS. It's not a friendly agency, generally speaking. It chills down people's spines. But the IRS just has a job to do. They work for the U.S. Treasury, right? They collect money for the U.S. And they're out there just trying to find out people that haven't followed the rules, doing things correctly, and just make sure that there's proper guidance along the way. So the IRS is just there to do their job. They're not there to take things away from you. They're not there to throw people in jail. So never be afraid of the IRS. Just document it, post it, put it out there so that you have a record that shows, yeah, on that date I did this review on this restaurant. That's why I wrote that expense off 100%. And now all of a sudden I'm in the legit territory with the IRS. What's the worst case scenario if the IRS audits you?
Jail.
Jail. That's what most people think, right? An IRS audit is just designed to take a look at your books and make sure that you've done things properly. And what they can do when they audit you is they can disallow certain expenses. So Chris decided to write off that entire meal. He didn't post anything. He was just hanging out, having beer at the bar, and all of a sudden they're going to say, nope, that's not tax deductible. We're not going to allow you to write that off because you were downstairs in the Aria and you were obviously alone, and who could you be talking to about business? You know, not a legitimate expense. You weren't out of town. You weren't in those obvious scenarios. What's that?
I could talk about business to a waiter.
Yeah, you could. You could be doing it on your phone, but you can't write it off in that case. So don't be afraid of the IRS. Just respect the IRS. Understand that they've got a role, and you're out there making things happen. Now, I'm not the CPA, I'm not the attorney, but I have them on staff. And so I've been around this stuff for so long that I feel very comfortable talking about all of this. And every time I get hung up, I bring them in and make sure that we're doing things the way we need to. But I've done this for so long, I know where the guidelines are. And just make sure, again, everything's for business purposes. So now I just want to go into a few things that are going to give you some ideas on how, or the power, as Chris mentioned, of just writing things off. So for instance, if I operate in a business, right, and I have a car and I have a car lease, and what's an average lease today? I like leases for businesses because the business can just have them and you can turn $469. How about if I round it up, $500? So $500. So Joe, employee, how much do they have to earn in this model to come up with the $500 to pay the lease on a monthly basis? How much? So they have to earn $1,000, right? $1,000 to pay that particular auto lease. How much does my business have to earn? $500, right? So do you want to be employee or do you want to be business person? And then how far can we take it, right? So we talked about travel already. What about a golf outing? Anybody like to golf once in a while? Some people like to golf. How do I write off a golf outing?
Make it business.
Make it business. Make sure I'm taking somebody with me, or I'm doing a review of a course. Whatever that is, it's a business purpose, right? It relates to business that I'm out there trying to discuss, or I'm just having a great meeting. We're sitting there in the cart going back and forth on ideas. Now we can write off a percentage of that. For entertainment purposes, it's usually 50%. Are there a lot of shows here in Las Vegas? Can you take people out to influence them for a show? Again, 50% of that. All the things that you might need. What about business uniforms? Are these uniforms, these Life Entrepreneur shirts that they've got around? Okay, uniforms you can write off. All the uniforms that the casino workers have around here, they're writing off 100% of those. Actually, the casinos pay for that, but if they had it themselves and had to run out and do it, 100% is paid for by a business. Just like large corporations have all these perks for the executives. What are some perks they have for executives?
Trips.
Trips. What else? Cars, food, planes, private planes. They ever get to fly in private planes?
Yeah.
You think the board of directors of MGM ever flies in a Southwest Airlines? Probably not, right? How do they get to their board meetings? Private jet takes them to the board meeting, and it's probably all over the world when they're flying around. So whatever big companies get, you and your small business, you get the same thing. So you can pay for a private jet. Why? 100 reasons. I needed to get there faster. I get anxious on a plane. It doesn't matter what it is. You don't have to spend $200 with Southwest Airlines if you want to spend $5,000 to fly in a private jet. That's up to you. That's your business. Just like the big guys get. So they might have an educational reimbursement plan for these big casinos for the employees. You can have an educational reimbursement plan. Anybody ever want to go back to school to finish a degree? What about kids that might work in a business? So in my business, we pay for our employees' education, right? So you can have a business where you pay for your employees' education, and what if your employees are kids or family members that still want to go to college or private school or other things that you want to pay for? Your business entity can pay for that because you can have perks just like large companies can offer to their employees. How about retirement? What's that?
Does that include tuition?
Tuition costs, room, board. I could have designed it any way. In my company, what we do is we pay tuition after they get, I think it has to be, I think we're pretty open to it. I think it's C+. And as long as they get a C, B, or A, we'll pay 100% of the tuition costs. But you can go further than that. You can pay for things beyond that. You think of vehicles for employees. What if you are wrapping a car, right? It's part of your brand. You put the wrap on it, and you let the kids drive around and use it around town. Well, this is a marketing vehicle. I don't care where you go. You're marketing. The more time you're in the car, the better it is for my business. All out there, making sure that that image is out there. We had a client years ago that owned a high-end fitness center. Bought a Ferrari to put in the front of the fitness center. The IRS challenged him, said, you can't write off this car. There's no business reason for this car. It was a high-end gym. They were trying to attract high-end customers. He parked the Ferrari right in front, and they got challenged, went to court, and they won. They won because it was part of the branding, part of the image that they were trying to portray for that particular business. So you talk about shoes, right? Some really cool shoes downstairs in crystals, some nice handbags in crystals, some nice everything in crystals, right? You can lose a lot of money really fast spending it down there in crystals and have a lot of fun while you're at it too. But if it's a purpose for your business, so Peter's into he's going to spend some money on watches. He's going to write a review on a watch, and he has some way to make money off of that out there. Maybe he cuts a deal with them and says, hey, what if I can send some people to you, Mr. Shopkeeper, or you sales rep, whatever it is, and I cut a deal and arrangement with them and say, best deals in town on these particular watches, go down to this shop, go talk to this person, they're going to give everybody that knows me 10% off, and all of a sudden Peter's getting 10% kickback from them in addition to it. And so maybe Peter can go in and say, hey, can I come in and just use a watch for a shoot? Maybe can I use it for a week and bring it back and show my friends? You know, if you could build the right following and that could work, you could just think in all kinds of businesses how I might play that to get the luxury goods that I want to have. Again, if the IRS sees and you can show that it's for business purposes, now all these things changed. So do you think the executives of these big corporations have amazing like healthcare? Yeah, right? They have concierge doctors. They'll meet them in the office. They'll draw their blood right in the office. They'll do physicals right in their executive suites. They don't even go to a regular hospital. They get the sniffles. Somebody's at their doorstep giving them antibiotics when they need it. Can you have a concierge doctor for your business? Same thing, just like they can. You can write the entire things off, just like my health insurance plan that I provide my employees. Health, dental, vision, daycare for employees. I can provide daycare for my employees if I choose, just like big corporations do. So now all of a sudden I'm really living on a pre-tax basis because I built my business to write off everything that I possibly could because I provide all these great benefits to all my employees, me, and maybe I don't have any other employees, that's it. And all of a sudden the IRS can't challenge that because why is MGM allowed to do it? They're allowed to do it. I'm under the same tax code as they are. Those are some of the benefits. Any questions on that? Oh, a bunch of them. Yes.
I was wondering if you have any guidance of what we should be thinking about do's and don'ts with the coming tax law changes as a business.
Yeah, let's talk about Trump tax law changes, right? Is it all right if we write Trump's name next to it? He pioneered it. He pushed it. There's a number of things. Before I do that, I want to Chris had asked me a question earlier about retirement planning. So once the income's really flowing, right? Now all of a sudden I want to talk about retirement planning. How do I not pay taxes at all if I possibly can? Because you're going to have to ultimately pay tax on whatever's left over, right? The profit of your business, if you haven't figured out how to expense it, and we want to hang on to some of our money, right? We don't want to expense it all out altogether. Retirement plans can absolutely be killer. And normally, most people can have like a 401k plan, right? 401k plan, how much can you put away in a 401k plan? Anybody know the numbers? What is it? 18.5. 18.5, very good. Yep, and then it goes up. So 18.5, 50, I think it's about another, I don't know, $3,000, let's say. Those are good plans. Company can match too. So you have your own company, you're the only employee in the organization. I'm going to have 18.5, plus the company can match 100% of that depending on the income. So I have to take a salary out of my business. It's important, payroll has to be a part of that picture, but I can double that amount. But what if I have a lot more money? You know, I'm absolutely loaded like Chris. I'm trying to figure out how to just put it away and not have to pay much in taxes, right? So then I start looking at something like a defined benefit plan. And now all of a sudden, the limit is really whatever I have as an age and an income requirement. So in my particular situation, I've got, it's a little bit over, but it's about $200,000 a year going into a defined benefit plan for me. It's due to my age and what I wanted the outcome to be when I decided to retire. So I don't want to mess around with this 18.5 or even doubling it when the income starts to rise in your business. You can get up there and say $200,000 into a retirement plan. How much does the IRS get of this today? Zero. Nothing. The IRS gets nothing of that. Will they get it someday? Yeah. They will when I decide to take it out, right? Sure. Maybe I'm in a lower tax bracket. That's the idea at the end of the day, yes.
So it's deferred. So there's a difference, though, between tax-free and tax-deferred.
Yes, and this is deferred.
Tax-free, certain things that are tax-deferred.
Absolutely.
So this is not like you're not going to pay taxes on it. It's just that instead of paying taxes now, put it into a defined benefit plan. But the benefit of that is what? To get work so you can do something with it in the time being?
Yeah, you want to grow it. It's going to grow tax deferred. You want to invest in it. I can invest in real estate. I can invest in gold. I can invest in cryptocurrencies. I can get into all sorts of different things that I want to invest my money in, and self-directed.
It's self-directed. So if I want to invest, let's say cryptocurrency, it's been really hot. Let's say I want to invest in cryptocurrencies, but I don't have money. Maybe I do have the money. It's just going to tax instead. If I had a defined benefit plan, put it there, and then self-directed, put it into some of those investments.
Yeah, and most of our clients will set up what's called a solo 401k. And that allows them, it's one person retirement plan, and then you can self-direct it at the end of the day. So we'll put them in a plan so they're not, traditionally you're in mutual funds and you just leave it and try to forget about it and hope you make something. In this plan, I can get involved in real estate, I can get involved in cryptos, I can get involved in precious metals, I can get involved in private ventures, a number of different things.
So some people here may or may not understand. You're muted. I'm muted? Yeah. Okay. Can you explain like, let's say, take self-directed real quick. Some people don't understand. A plan naturally is going to be directed. Is that better? A plan, so self-directed versus a traditional. So traditionally, if you work for a boss or something like that, and you have like a 401k plan, that money is invested in something outside of you're not in control of where that money is invested in. But with self-directed, you can take and move that money into a self-directed plan, and then you can decide where that money can go. So you have a certain limit, like a 401k has X amount of money. But a defined benefit plan has X amount of money, IRAs, stuff like that. So the idea would be earn, spend, tax. So you're earning money, you want to spend money or put money somewhere prior to having to pay tax on it. So either tax deferred, tax write-off, or tax free. And these plans here can be self-directed. So when you self-direct it, what can you put it into? What are some examples? Like, real estate, can I put it into loans? Can that loan go to a business? Investments, what can I do with it if it's self-directed?
Yeah, when you're involved in self-directed investments, it's got to be for investment purposes, for the growth of that money at the end of the day. So real estate, collectibles, people are involved in collecting artwork, stamps, could be anything that you're involved in collecting. one of the things you mentioned is like, could I just borrow from it? You're allowed to borrow a certain amount of money from a plan. For instance, $50,000 from a solo 401k or 401k plan in a traditional sense. You have to pay it back. And then it gets into, can I start lending it out? Can I be in the lending space as an investment? And there's a bunch of rules that you've got to be very careful of in that space as far as what my retirement plan can do. For instance, you can't be lending money to your own business. So that's called self-dealing. You can't go down that path. Whatever you get involved with long-term for any kind of retirement plans has to be for the growth of an asset or the growth of the investment itself.
So if you have an LLC that's got this money and you put it in a self-directed account, that self-directed account can invest into another LLC.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just can't reinvest back into the same LLC.
So if you have a friend that says, hey, I'm looking for some investors for my business, yes, you can invest in that business. However, Chris, you want to start your own business and you want a different 401k to invest in it, that's self-dealing. You can't take money that benefits you personally, where you might be getting K1s or salary out of that entity. You can't do that. Okay. But you can invest in other people's businesses.
Sure. So I've got these plans over here. I'm earning, spending, or just before money goes to taxes, I'm basically putting money. This might even be things like salary, employees, marketing expenses, basic deductions and stuff like that. But there's 401k, there's DB plan, there's an IRA, there's things like an HSA. Some people here may or may not have them. What's an example of like an HSA and how you can put money into that and spend off of that before it goes here?
Sure. So an HSA is a health savings account. It's another type of tax deferred or tax free, depending on how you spend the money, account that the IRS allows you to set up, and it's designed to pay for medical expenses, health related expenses. And so what happens is a lot of companies will offer HSAs, which you can also offer to yourself as an employee of a company, and it means you take money from the tax side of things and move it into the pre-tax side of things, and now all of a sudden it's not income, it's going directly to you, and you use it to pay for those visits to the doctors when you have co-pays that are coming out of your pocket, or when you're going to Walgreens or CVS and you're getting medicine that you need, or the prescription that charges you a small amount because you have a prescription discount plan. This is all on a pre-tax basis. The money that goes into the HSA plan can pay for all sorts of health-related things. If you can get a prescription from your doctor for massages or for physical therapy or other things that you might need, all that's going to come out of the HSA plan.
Yeah, and I don't want to put you on the spot with all the things that can be covered in HSA, but get creative here. It's a health savings account. Get creative, use your own mind, and you can talk to a doctor, get a prescription. But the whole idea, the word that I hear you using that I think is different, that people need to understand, is pre-tax. Okay, this is an important word, pre-tax, because there's literally like, when you understand this, everything above this line is pre-tax. And when you're a regular employee, just what most people do when you're an employee is you get paid a check, and then after your check, you go to, Walgreens or something like that, and you go pick up your prescription or whatever. But you've already been taxed, and then you're spending money again on these things that are health related. Especially women. I know women have so many health related costs they're always doing, and you're spending money after you've already been taxed. Whereas there could be a way you set it up where you earn, and then you spend pre-tax money on all of this, which subtracts the amount that you're going to pay tax on as a total, right? And you can correct me if you're the expert. Yes. I just want to make sure I'm not saying anything incorrect. The goal here would be to, during this funnel here, as things go down from earn to money being spent to tax, there's this border here. The goal is to how much you can legally, ethically, properly spend in all of these different resources before having to pay tax on it. Eventually, pay your tax. There's no problem. But the number that you pay this tax on, that number is going to be based on these expenses. And there's all these different places that money can go pre-tax. And there's just literally a lot of them. And that's why I wanted Court to be able to come out, is to show you, as a social media influencer, as a digital agency builder, you are a business owner. You need to be thinking this way, not the other way. You need to be thinking pre-tax. Prior to paying taxes, where can I either get a tax write-off? Where can I have a tax-free place that this money could go? Or something tax-deferred, where I ultimately pay it later? Be thinking of those expenses. Consult with a professional, because you don't want to later on have to reconcile for bad decisions and bad accounting. Get it properly. But if you do this properly, that's why a lot of people say the wealth get wealthier. The wealth get wealthier because to them, it's important to understand this stuff. And that's what happens when you don't have money. It's not a priority to understand how to be able to make more money or save more money. It's just not a priority. It's not in your life. But when you make money, you understand the wealth get wealthier because the wealth pay people to help them understand this process better than anybody else. So if you want to think like, if you want to be wealthy, look at success leads clues. Model people that are wealthy. Figure out how they're already doing this stuff prior to even making the money. So every dollar that comes in turns into a little soldier that you get to work on a battlefield, making you money out there, saving you money, doing it properly so you have sustainable wealth for years. There's no reason 5 years from now you should be at another mastermind trying to figure out what to do. You know, you should just figure this out now. That's why Court's one of the big 90,000 corporations these guys have set up. He's not some random guy here at this thing. It's hard to get Court. Court doesn't even do a lot of speaking for his, if any, for his company, right? And it's an honor to be able to have him here. So I wanted to make sure they, on a basic level, Court, this concept was foreign to me when I started. It just was foreign. I didn't know anything about it. So I kind of like, that's why I'm preaching about it right now. It's just important.
These two things go hand in hand. Have a business, right? Everything's on a pre-tax basis. There's no faster way to accumulate wealth than these together, right? And making sure that everything that you do in business, you can take a look at it and say, how can I write it off? How can I write it off? Can I write off the hat? Can I write off the shirt? Can I write off the shoes? Can I write off the equipment, the technology, everything that you've got, thinking in terms of that. And because of this is how you create wealth really fast. Then it comes down to which tax rates do I have to play with? We talked about Trump and being involved in some new tax rates. Well, then you want to look at how do I shop tax rates? Tom mentioned, can you use a state like Nevada where if I'm living in California and I'm going to pay, 11, 12, 13% taxes, what if I could just have my digital agency headquartered in Nevada? I can live where I want to live and I leave the money in the digital agency. I take some out to an entity that I might have in my home state. I'm going to pay tax on that money, but whatever I leave now in Nevada, I have eliminated state taxes on. For one, that can be a really big deal. You talk about compounding wealth, okay? Once at the end of the day, because you have to pay tax on whatever's left over, right? The profits of your business entity. But now, Trump's gotten involved and said, we want to help big companies out. And they've given a major tax break to major corporations. They went from a 35% tax rate down to a 21% tax rate. So, Court's thinking, wow, that's really cool. How do I take advantage of that as a small business owner, small company? Well, I just go back to my digital agency that I set up in Nevada, and I just have a CLLC, technical terms, but it's how you pay tax. You actually put it on your form with the IRS, and I'm elected to pay taxes like the big companies pay as a C corporation, but I use an LLC to do it. And now, all the profits that I might earn, I only pay 21% on. So as your business is growing and the profits grow, I'd rather pay 21% than the new 37% that I have to pay as an individual. And if I don't have to take all that income back to my home state, and I want to grow it faster, I have an entity in Nevada, I have an entity in my home state. In addition to that, now I'm really cooking things. That's powerful too. So this is the most powerful concept, and you mentioned it. It's like once it clicks for people, it's like, holy crap, I don't have to earn $1,000 to pay for that $500 lease. I only have to earn $500 to pay for the $500 lease. Taking advantage of compounding the use and benefit of the money that you work so hard to create all day long.
And the idea is that, I love understanding things on a very simple level, because this was overwhelming for me when I first started. On a simple level, you're going to earn money, and then you're going to spend that money. I mean, that's why 99% of the population is check to check, right? Because you're going to earn it, you're going to spend it. I mean, we have overhead. We got rent and food and travel and a car and everything, right? So if you're going to earn it and you're going to spend it, what most people do is they earn and then they pay taxes and then they spend what's left. With the smallest little tweak in mindset, when you think like a business owner instead of an employee, and you set up even a basic starter type corporation setup, the IRS is basically saying, hey, these rules are in place for businesses. If you want to play by these rules, you need to get into that game. So that's why NCH is so successful at what they do. And people are asking me, like, a couple people asked, is it worth it when you could just go online to like LegalZoom and file a corporation? If you are a self-learner that spends hours and hours and hours studying online and your comfort level's high, do it that way. I mean, these guys, even besides LegalZoom, they even have other resources that I've been through that are even better. So do it that way if you're comfortable. The reason why I pay a professional is because at the end of the day, there's no purpose in spending any amount of dollars if it's not done right. Okay, so I could sit here and I could set up, hey, let me get a Nevada corporation, but then turns out, I'm just taking money and putting it in my bank account and spending it in California, and then a year later, the IRS goes, oh, it didn't matter you have that corporation, you owe money on this money, you owe tax on this money because it's in California. All of my entire all my entire thought process was I had a Nevada corporation. Didn't matter. If I didn't do it properly, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're going to say, no, you owe money in this state. So I don't like doing things unless it can be done right. For a slight little fee above what you would do by self-filing, you go to professionals that you can get some advice from, some feedback from, explain your personal situation, find something that's a right fit. And then you could ask questions. And also, when you guys ask questions, keep in mind, when you ask questions to a professional court or anybody for that matter, they have to consider their license, their reputation, everything. So a lot of times they're going to be very cautious when they give you advice. Okay? So you're better off explaining your situation and asking them, okay, if this were my situation, could I do it? Hypothetically, if Court's my advisor, my tax attorney, whoever it is, and I go, hey, Court, I'm going to go out golfing with my brother on Saturday. I want to be able to write it off, man. Give me the goods. Like, come on, what's a sneaky way I could write it off? He's not going to give me a sneaky way to write it off. That's against what he wants to do as with his business. His business is not take care of Chris. His business is take care of his business. He's not going to give me some sneaky tax creative write-offs, right? But if I come to him and say, Court, this is my social media profile. As you can see here, everywhere I go, I take pictures and videos and I review that. The purpose is to attract high-level sponsors. I've got a goal this year to make 6 figures from this business. This Saturday, I'm going out golfing at this golf course. I'm going to take pictures, review the place, and even try to get it where they're going to sponsor me and give me free rounds of golf and stuff like that. If I do this with the full purpose of completely reviewing this to be profitable with my business, could that be a tax write-off? Do you see the difference in asking? One way it's like, hey dude, you're my accountant, can you give me some advice on how to write this off? He's gonna be limited to his answers. But if I came to him and said, my goal is I'm a social media influencer with the intent to be profitable, can this be a write-off? Speak that way to your accountant, to your attorney, speak that way to them. Because you have to realize, a lot of times we walk away thinking things can't be done, because they're not going to sit there and go, you know what I would do, man? You could totally get over on the IRS, man. If they, they're not going to talk like that. It's not in their best interest and it's not ethical. But there's a right way to do things. So if you guys catch the subtlety here, I'm saying start up your own digital agency, start up your own social media influencer business, ask questions in that reference. When you go to professionals, say, I'm a social media influencer. Here's 10 influencers that are making 6 and even 7-figure incomes. Go to somebody like Logan Paul or Jake Paul on YouTube and say, these guys are crushing it, making $1 million a month with their business. I want to make YouTube videos that make $1 million a month. Therefore, I need to buy this camera equipment. I need to have some clothes that look like that. I want to have a car that inspires these people. I want to do this and that. And when you start speaking that way, when that accountant or that attorney understands your situation, they're going to give you completely different advice. So try it. Try yourself. Become a social media influencer. Now here's the thing. The IRS is not going to judge you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the IRS is not going to judge you on how many followers you have. Okay, they're not going to say, we'll allow it as a write-off if you have 21,000 followers, but not if you have 19,000. That, to them, business is business. You can show some accounts that only have, like here's Connor's 17,000 followers, but yet he just made $16,000 in a week. And there's some people that have 100,000, 200, 1 million followers that aren't making that much money. So all they're really going to do is look at it. Is this really a business or is this a hobby? Are these real expenses that are really is there really an intent to profit, or are they trying to circumvent the tax code and trying to get over on us? The IRS has to collect on behalf of the government. They have a job to do. Be respectful to them, respect their job, and say, IRS, this is my business. This is what I try to do. These are the write-offs that I deem possible. These are the expenses that I believe it's going to take to make this business profitable. And it might still fail. After 5 years, whatever, maybe your business isn't profitable. But it's the intent behind it. So when you hear Court talking about stuff and you're asking questions, keep in mind that's what we're looking for. We're looking for your intent is to be profitable as a social media influencer and a digital agency builder. 100%. Now, do all the same things you are already going to do. You're already going to spend the money. You're already going to buy food. You're already going to buy clothes. You're already going to travel. You're already going to get a car. You're already going to pay rent or a mortgage. You're already going to be buying furniture. You're already going to be going downstairs to Crystals and getting sucked in. You're going to get sucked in. You're going to be buying courses. You're going to be buying software. You're going to be buying advertising. You're going to spend money. That money is not going to sit in some account no matter how great of savers we think we are. You're gonna be, get creative. Don't go to your accountant and lawyer and say, hey, my mom's in assisted living, so if I pay her bills, what's the write-off there? They're gonna give you the technical right answer to that technical question. So get creative prior to asking the question and figure out different ways to ask it so you're working with them that's playing on their game. Okay, you gotta look at them as they need you to be the creative one in the situation and present your idea to them, and then they can give you legal advice or their licensed advice as to what to do. Is this
absolutely
accurate?
100%. And
okay.
You know what? And if it's not us, and you are working with somebody that is a consultant for you, make sure there's somebody that doesn't always tell you what you can't do. Find somebody that can tell you what you can do, right? And there's tons of people out there that'll tell you what you can't do. They'll tell you where the rules are and everything else. But there's very few creative thinkers when it comes to tax, legal structuring, on how to accomplish my goal. I want answers on how to live tax efficiently on a pre-tax basis. I don't want to be told all the time what I can't do. Come back to me and let me know exactly how I can design this in a way where it's for a business purpose. I don't know how to write off assisted living though, or something else yet. Haven't come up with that one, but maybe sometime soon.
But that was just an example, like when you're looking at your bills, your expenses, if you literally just do this right now on a monthly basis, write out all your expenses, okay? And you look at this, and what's happening is most people are earning money, and then most people get a regular W-2 check or whatever, right? They're already paying taxes. Earn, tax, and then they spend all this money. So all you're doing is you're reversing it. Earn, spend, tax. So prior to spending tax, this is that net amount. What is this gross amount? What is the actual, first, before I file for taxes, I have a plus and a minus. This is the money that I made, and this is the money that it cost me to make that money. Or this is the money that I'm deferring for now, or putting over here prior to paying taxes. It's a new way, pre-tax money. Earn, prior to paying tax, what are those expenses? And go through here, and rather than just go meet up with your person and say, are any of these write-offs? Put on that thinking hat. If I were a social media influencer, and my pure intent was business, and the pure intention for me doing this was to build my social influence, can I write this one off? How would that work? Can I write this one off? What's needed? What exactly do I need? Do I need a receipt? What should I write on that receipt so that the tracking's in place? Proof. I need proof that I was there. I need proof that I'm reviewing it. What kind of proof do you think would be sufficient? Or let me ask a better question. He may not even know what a review business is. If I were to take pictures on my phone, if I were to post those pictures to a Vegas food review, like if I were to go out to all the restaurants in Vegas, every time I ever went out to a restaurant, Vegas food review, if I had a blog and an Instagram account, regardless of how many followers it had, if I post the pictures, every time I go out to eat, I post a little slideshow of 10 pictures, and then I take a little video of the food or something like that and post it up on my story, and I keep the receipt and it's filed, is that a write-off? You would be surprised at how you can write this stuff off. And now think about it. What if how much does it cost to set up an Instagram account? How much? 0. Am I already going to go out and eat? Yeah, but what would I rather do? I personally would rather, if it were just me and if I didn't have a business, I'd rather just sit here and eat top ramen and drink water and eat cereal. But because I have a business where I'm trying to be a social media influencer, I got to go try Mastro's Steakhouse. You know what I'm saying? I got to go review Mastro's. I wouldn't do it. I would prefer top ramen and I would prefer just going to Walmart if it were me personally. But I have to do it for business. Mastro's is a popular spot. I got to go review it. I got to try the steak. Okay. Next time I go there, I've got to go there a few times to try different meals. Now, my pure purpose for going there would be to review that, because if I do enough reviews, Court, these restaurants are going to start, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a few of these reviews, put up my beautiful looking site. I'm going to contact this restaurant in advance. Hey, I'm Chris Records' assistant, and as you can see, he runs one of the biggest Vegas food review websites, and he's interested in reviewing your restaurant. We're going to need a table for 4, obviously comped, and don't tell your staff that we're there, because we want to be treated like regulars. We're going to come in at 7. Instead of putting the table in his last name Record, we're going to put it in Smith, so nobody knows it's him. And he might take a couple discrete pictures. If you're okay with that, we'd love to review your restaurant, and we'll let you approve the review afterwards. Nope, whether it's positive or negative, we won't post it unless you approve it. Are you open to that? And I'll say table for 4, comped meal, of course. And they'll just comp us. Now here's the thing. Do your food review business. Remember I said you could get free stuff? Do your food review business, and you're already going to go to these restaurants and then start submitting things to restaurants. If you submit that kind of an email to 20, 30 restaurants, 5 or 10 will answer back. They set aside budget to be able to allow you to eat free. Now, not only are you actually running a review business, you're eating for free at these restaurants, you're bringing some friends, and tell them that they can approve it. All anybody's worried about is a negative review. Tell them they can approve it before you review it. That's your rule. You approve before you review. And you're going to get the write-off either way. This is another thing that you got to understand is that the write-off doesn't exist based on how many people like the post. The write-off exists whether there was the true intent. Am I going to that restaurant and actually reviewing it and actually posting it with an intent to be profitable? Is there success? Is there an example of any profitable review sites on the web? Yes. Millions, hundreds of thousands, or tens of thousands, whatever the numbers. Are there social media influencers who literally companies are sending them clothes and sending them outfits and sending them stuff to wear and paying them just to be able to promote stuff? Yes. You have a track record. This is the business to be in 2018. A digital agency, which we covered in the first half, and a social media influencer taking advantage of Nevada specifically based tax advantages, strategies, and entity setup. And if not Nevada, cool. But success leaves clues. Why do you think this corporation's based out of Nevada? Think about it. Look at a lot of successful corporations. Why are they based out of Nevada? Success leaves clues. You can reverse engineer and figure it out. If they're all based out of here, it's something to Nevada. Sorry, I keep going on the soapbox rants.
No, I love it. It's great. Well, and you're tied in. You know what to nail down. And I think about it. No matter what it is, if it's you're just trying to get more subscribers, more followers, more people to come on board, can that be for a for-profit reason? You're trying to build that base, right? Even though you're not making any money yet, you're building up that base. And I think of Snapchat. I'm an investor in Snapchat, right? Did they figure out how to make money early on? They didn't care about making money early on. All they tried to do was what? Get every kid on the planet on Snapchat. And so now they've gotten that to that place. Now they go public. They had some issues early on, but all of a sudden they're figuring out how to get the revenue going, how to get the advertising going, and it's working for them. In the same sense, you can be building up all your base and still not have made money yet, but the intention is to make money. I will be profitable once I get to this size, and right now I'm just trying to build that, the subscriber base, the follower base up. And so as long as the IRS knows that's what you're trying to do, and I have a plan, just like the big companies that don't make money for years and years and years, now all of a sudden time will tell at some point and you'll start making money.
And Court, I also want to jump in and say, I'm not telling anybody to be deceitful or misleading or lie. I'm actually, if you don't get it, I'm actually encouraging you to be a social media influencer and a digital agency builder. Not only am I encouraging it, but Lifepreneur will offer the training to help you build your social media influence, build your agency, and build it. The goal here is not to circumvent and get tax write-offs from the IRS. The goal is actually to get you profitable. I'd much rather have to pay taxes. Like, at the end of the day, this is not a bad thing. If you are earning and spending all this and you have taxes that you're still owing, good job. You're running a profitable business in America. That's a fantastic position to be in. No problem there. A big tax bill? No problem. The bigger tax bill you have? No problem. Like, that's a good thing. I'd rather have a profitable business than one that's always just barely breaking even because I'm some master at tax write-offs. I'd rather just have a profitable business, but while getting the best tax advantages. So I'm telling you, the goal here is to be profitable, not to trick the IRS or not to just pretend you're doing anything. I'll show you how to do it professionally and properly, how to market those things, how to get restaurants to give you free stuff, how to get clothing companies to get you free stuff. Court mentioned going downstairs and talking to some of these shops and saying, hey, I'm an influencer. If I refer you some business, can we work out a deal? They will. They will. Not only can we do that, but we can put together scripts for you to actually reach out to these places. Every time you go and spend money somewhere, you're spending money because you like that thing, right? So go in mind, if I like this, then I will have no problem endorsing this and recommending this to people, right? Think that way. Think, gosh, if I'm here buying something, I'm already going to post it. How many of us already post stuff and share stuff? Oh my God, did you see this? Did you see that? Did you go to this restaurant, this and that? Go ahead and figure it out. You know what you could do? You could literally go to a restaurant you love and you could say, hey, I love this place. I'm going to start referring some friends. And you could tell all your people, hey, when you go to this restaurant, say that I sent you and go see Manager Jerry, whatever. Guarantee after 2 or 3 of those, you hit up Manager Jerry and say, hey, I've been sending some people your way. He's like, dude, I owe you meals. They're going to start giving you free meals. You're going to be treated like royalty when you go in. There's always going to be comped desserts. There's always going to be comped stuff. This is the lifestyle you want to live. You want to live that comped life. You want to live that life that influencers get. You want to live that sports celebrity life, that LeBron James life, where everywhere that you go, you're getting hooked up. And that's buildable. You can either be LeBron James, the best basketball player or whatever, or you could just be a good marketer. A creative marketer can get the same results, right? That's the key. And like we were talking about social media influence business, right? Social media influencer business, shoot, that's exactly what I would do. I would start on Instagram, start building up my following, start posting, start getting a little theme going, and then I would set up my agency site that I have a section on my agency site where I review everything. And what I would do is I would start reaching out to companies on your own behalf. Like you could do it or have an assistant do it. Reach out and say, hey, I represent such and such brand. If you have a beautiful looking agency, and you've got a decent profile, you're going to catch the eye of businesses. And don't just wait passively. Oh, I hope I get big enough where somebody sends me something for free. Be aggressive, your own PR campaign, and start mailing out all these businesses and saying, hey, I represent so-and-so and their whole entire social media firm. They really love your pants. They really love your clothes. They'd be interested in doing a sponsorship with you. First, you don't have to pay us. Just send us the clothes, we'll wear them, we'll give you a promo. If that goes well, let's talk about a deal and a contract. Like you could get signed yourself just by being a good marketer. Build yourself up. How easy is it to build social media following? It's just money. I could teach you guys on another time, not right now, but I could teach you guys, it's just this right here. Fans right here on Instagram, real fans, you can get real fans all day long for $0.25 each. Real actual followers all day long for $0.25 each on IG. But the problem is, you're going to quickly run out of money if all you're doing is paying for followers. So that's not really what you want to do. Instead, what you want to do is you want to put an offer right up here. I'll show you. You put an offer where you maybe sell like a $20 course or $100 course, and then you run ads to it. You run ads to this like $20 Instagram course or whatever, and then they follow you out of that. So instead of just buying fans like everybody else is buying, you send traffic right to an offer, $20. That $20 is a lost leader. It goes right back into your ads. So you spend $20 in ads to get a $20 customer, but then everybody's following you. And then you could even lose money. You could spend $40 in ads to get a $20 customer. Why? Because at the end of the day, you could also sell this product, this product, this product, this product, and your LTV, your lifetime value of that customer might be $100. You're actually spending $40 to make $100. You're profitable and you're building tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers. That's the kind of stuff we'll teach you in Lifepreneur. It doesn't make sense because I gave you a 60-second version, but rather than just like hoping somebody follows you, build a little course in the beginning. Here's my 21 tips to get better at Instagram. Okay, you want this for free? Just download it and follow me. And they go download, they follow you, and then the next page says, thank you, watch this quick video where I'll teach you really how to explode your Instagram. That sells the $20 course, you make back your money. This is the kind of stuff we're going to teach. This is going to explode your following. Now you got a real following and a real agency website together, you're going to be unstoppable. Everything's going to be a write-off. But you have to have the corporate setup. That's why we're partnering with NCH, is because what makes this thing tick is having the right money flow. I can teach you the marketing, they got to teach you the how to keep the money. I can teach you how to make the money, they got to teach you how to manage and keep that money and longevity, and how to be able to structure it right. Because I got hurt by not doing this right. So that's why you guys understand this is a passionate. You guys see my tax video on YouTube? Some of you guys were talking about that. You understand how passionate I am about this? Oh, yeah. I've messed up in this area. It's vital that you guys listen to these guys because I got burned early not knowing this.
And it takes a while to get out of those challenges.
Oh, we were talking about it. They're like, oh, you got it all fixed by now, probably, because it looks. I was like, no, those don't go away right away.
There's layers to it. There's layers for sure. Hey, I want to do one thing here for everybody that is at the mastermind tonight. We've got this book, The Nevada Edge, old school, not digital. So you actually have to take it with you and bring it on the plane and flip through it. So when you've got knowledge you want to learn about Nevada, why Nevada, how does it work, what's the big deal, it's in here. Or your CPA says, what the hell are you doing? Or your attorney friend or family member says, why are you even looking at this stuff? It's all right in here so you can answer it. Have answers for all those kinds of questions. They're sitting right there.
Is your info in there?
Yeah, our contact details are in there. Chris, is it all right if I put it up here? www.nchinc.com. And I'm running right over the IRS Gov, which is good. I like to run over the IRS.
And we're probably going to do something with NCH for Lifepreneurs. So keep in mind, like if you got to go aggressively right now, go to NCH. But keep in mind, we were talking about can you put together packages for Lifepreneurs? Because we're not just, if you go one at a time, you get the regular one at a time rate. But if we kind of go and say, hey, can you put together some Lifepreneur packages? Because we're going to bring numbers to the table. And I'm sure we're going to work something out in the very near future.
Absolutely, we are. One last thing, though, I want to go into. Just you asked a question about what's Trump done. The changes. Individual tax rates went from 39.5 down to 37%. A couple percentage point savings. That's not where the fun is. The fun is, as I mentioned, in this place, where if I can be an LLC taxed as a C corporation, just a simple election that you let the IRS know on, the forms that you fill out, your SS4 form or the EIN application form, it went from 35 to 21%. Tons of money sitting in here, and I can have one bucket of income coming into this, and another one, which is where we put most of our clients into this type of structure, an LLC taxed as an S corporation. It used to be 39.5% taxes that you'd pay through your S corporation, and there's a new blended rate, and it's a formula, and I can't sit here and work it out with you, but the formula gets you down to about 39%, which is a lot lower than what our W-2 people are paying up here at 37%. And this is after taking... What's that? 27%, yes. 27%, I said 20, yeah, actually 29%, I'm sorry. Let's get that correct. 29% on an S-elected LLC. And again, it gets complicated how to design this. I have to take a certain salary or compensation of myself, so I'm back to being an employee for my own business in order to get this lower tax rate. But it's fantastic, and you're saving a heck of a lot more than what it used to be at the 39% rate. About 10% off today.
So if I...
Microphone?
Hold on, she's been one of the best.
Oh, I'm sorry.
After you, please.
While you're on the subject, Cord, how does it help in the other direction, having an entity? For example, I taking a loss. So I went and set up a Shopify site last year, and it's never made a dime. So how long can you write off the thousands of dollars I've lost so far?
Well, like Amazon wrote off losses for about 20 years.
Really?
So just like the big companies do, you as an individual can write off losses as long as you've got the intent to make money and you're showing you're putting the efforts into that.
So I have an S Corp that does make money, and I opened up a Shopify site and gave Zuckerberg thousands of dollars because I know he needs it.
Yes.
And it's never made a dime, this site. So can I just keep using money out of one LLC and calling it a tax write-off in the LLC that doesn't make any money?
Yeah, because the IRS at the end of the day, it's going to all flow down ultimately to your tax return. So in this case, the profits after the taxes are paid will get down to your 1040 ultimately. So you might have one entity with a minus and another entity with a plus, but they're going to make it to you, and then it's going to blend out. So you're obviously...
How long I can get away with it, but apparently I can just keep giving Zuckerberg my money.
It is not defined in tax code how long I can have losses, as long as the progression is showing that you're going into the right direction. Now, people that have businesses that never get there, the IRS can come in sometimes and challenge it and call it a hobby business. It's not a real business. It's just, a way for you to go to restaurants and get free food or whatever it is. It's got to have an intent that, nope, I'm trying to grow this. I'm just not very good at it right now, but I'm getting really good at it, and I'm learning every day. Okay. Question here? Yeah.
So, like in my case, where I live out of the country 9+ months out of the year, I can have a Nevada corporation, have myself as an employee, and promote the lifestyle of being not a nomad, but a non-location specific business. Mm-hmm. And then I can earn up to, I think it's $96,000 a year tax-free living outside of the country.
That can go to you directly, yes. And you've got 21% if you left it in a C corporation and let it accumulate here.
And then all the money that I spend on my travel and all that coming back and forth, I can write all that off and really have a much better income.
As long as it's for legitimate business reasons, yep. And as long as the IRS is getting their 21%, the same thing that Trump has just now allowed to every U.S. corporation trying to attract business back into the United States. We're happy to have international businesses sending money back into the United States, paying some taxes versus not paying taxes here.
Perfect, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Peter?
Yes. I had one question on once I've set up my LLC wrong. Now what do? Do I go back and set up another one? Do I shut it down? Do I try and correct it?
The question's always, what did you do wrong? And if you don't want to go into that here.
All I did was just fill out the articles of incorporation, and that was it.
Awesome. So then you could talk to one of our staff members. We'll make sure you get a record book with ownership certificates and your articles inside there, and make sure that you've got your operating agreement in there and all the documents that you need to show that this is a legitimate operating entity, not just a few papers that some internet company sent to me.
Mm-hmm. Corey, so let's say I'm a digital agency builder, or I'm with the intent obviously to make money, whether it's social media, as an influencer or agency owner, but I'm still struggling, haven't made much money, but I have a clear intent to profit. I'm taking actions, and let's say I want to get some additional training or education. I go out there and buy a training course for a couple $1,000s or something. Is there a way where that could be legally like a tax write-off in some sort?
Is it a way it can be legally written off?
Yeah.
Always. All your education can be written off. Anything that involves, for instance, just going out there, learning the foundation, right, for the future income, that I can form a business entity today, start paying for things with that business entity, even though I haven't earned anything yet. Then the question's always, well, where do I get the money, right? So what we often tell our clients is fund your business. So whether you take $10,000 out of something that you've saved up, borrow money off a credit card, whatever it is that you're going to start paying for things, put the money into the business entity, let the business entity pay those bills for the education, so it's not in your name, but it's in the business name when you sign up and pay for things.
Could you do that retroactively?
Can you do it retroactively? It's you have to document it properly. You can reimburse yourself for legitimate business expenses. So every month I come in, and if for some reason I had to pay for, I don't know, I'm tipping out somebody, let's say it's here, and I can have a receipt that says I paid somebody $5 cash, and I can turn that in to my accounting guy, and my accounting guy, as long as I've got it documented, will write me a check, because those are legitimate business things. So the same way that you can do it is say, I have had all these expenses, here they are documented, these were for my business, here's what I'm doing, I'm reimbursing myself out of the income that's coming out of my business and paying myself for those. Again, make sure you have a record of it all, make sure that you can show that it's for business purposes, that you have these things, and as long as that's the case, you can reimburse yourself. Yes?
So come back to the influencer. Does influencer get 401k?
Does the influencer get
can get benefit of 401k, because what I know is like 9-to-5 job.
Yes. So if you're an influencer and you're earning money, first of all, right? Because to put money into a retirement plan, we have to have money coming in the door, and then we write off whatever it is that we're going to write off and pay for through the business. And then after that, whatever is left over, the IRS is getting hungry for, right? And they're saying, oh, here comes the money. The profit, we've got to pay some tax on. And then we do the end run right before that, and we say, oh, before we're going to give it to the IRS, we're going to dump as much as we can into one of these types of plans. Now, to have a plan, like a retirement plan into business, you have to be taking some payroll out of the business in addition to that. Might be $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month. So once the revenue starts coming into the business, and then you'll have some paychecks, W-2 regular old paychecks from your own LLC going to you, and now all of a sudden we open the door to have retirement plans, just like all employees get, even if you're a one-person business, which most influencers are.
Thank you.
Yes.
How do you know if you need an S Corp or a C Corp? I don't really understand any of that yet.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And actually, Tom before said there's 4 different ways that you can get taxed with just a basic LLC. And there's corporations and LLCs, 2 different forms of business structures for profit companies that you can operate. And just to give an idea, 95% of the business entities we form are LLCs. Corporations usually have a purpose which involves raising money from investors, possibly going public someday, that type of thing. So when we're talking about LLCs, now you can be taxed as an individual, you can be taxed as a partnership if there's more than one person involved, you can be taxed as a C corporation and or an S elected business entity. The decision now is what's best. 90% of our clients go down this S path. The reason is we can eliminate a lot of the payroll withholding taxes that you normally have to pay. So if somebody earns $100,000 in payroll, they're paying 15.3% in payroll taxes. Oftentimes, you work for another business, half that business pays for, half comes out of your paycheck. It's your Social Security, your federal unemployment, your Medicare, all the other things that are added into that. With an S entity, we tend to take a smaller salary, which minimizes the amount of money that we have to pay those self-employment taxes on, payroll taxes on, and then we take the rest as a distribution to ourselves on a form called a K-1 that Tom mentioned earlier, and then we don't have to pay any of those taxes on that. And that's one of the simplest business structures. Gets you down to the 29% tax rate, which is really cool. We start looking at C corporations when you're ready for a little more sophisticated planning. And so then I'm talking about multiple business entities, or somebody that is pretty self-sufficient from a steady income stream that they've got right now, and yet they've got this other new business that they're getting going, and they like this 21% tax rate. So they will direct income into a C corporation and minimize their taxes by only paying that, use the profits of the business, now they stay within the business, to reinvest. Grow the business, maybe buy some investments with that money, do something to build the organization that you're involved with. And so this comes down to tax planning, tax strategy, and then I got to get into what are you doing now? What are you trying to do? How many partners do you have? What are your other income sources? Do you need this money? Do I not need this money? And it's like once you start building your business up, first of all, it's like we need every penny just to get things going, pay our bills, really grow it. And then after things start accumulating, we start looking at more sophisticated tax planning on how to play with these different tax brackets that are afforded us. So there isn't a perfect answer for that. It involves sitting down with us with a pen and paper, profiling you, trying to understand what you're trying to do, where you're trying to go.
That is definitely going to happen.
Okay. Good.
you.
I'm glad to hear it. Yes, sir. Microphone. Thanks.
Just a simple question. If we're going to set up a LLC in Nevada, do we need to be here? Do we need to come here, or can we do this?
No, you can do it just over the phone with us.
I can
really
do it
simple.
over the phone,
yes.
right? Okay.
Yeah, easy. And as Chris has mentioned, we're going to put a special deal together for Lifepreneur members, students, and we'll have something to benefit all you guys to make it real easy. And we'll end up working with somebody, specifically probably Tom, who understands what's going on in this room so that he can help you all get started. Cool. All right. Are we good?
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Peter. Thanks, Ryan.
How are we doing on time? Let's cut the live. How are we doing on time?
It's 5:30.
5:30?